Hello and welcome to the patron Q&A for my video, The Anime Countryside. Thanks so much to everybody who asked questions. Thank you so much to everyone listening.
Hello, my name is Alyssa. I'm Hazel's wife.
Yeah.
I also go by Loveland Isle on twitter.com.
Yeah, my wife joins me for these. If this is your first time being here, she's going to read the questions and help make sure that I stay on track.
Oh, wow, I'm already having indigestion. Let's go.
Oh, great. So we got a lot of questions for this one. And unfortunately, like I tried not to cut any for time. But the only ones I did have to ask were the ones that asked if I knew about a particular anime or if I've seen a particular anime, when the answer is no. Because when the answer is no, I just kind of say no, sorry, and then I move on.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make for very interesting.
If you asked Hazel, have you seen blank, and we didn't answer it today, that means the answer is no, sorry.
Yeah. However, a good few of them I did look up and kind of stow away to look at later, because a lot of them did look quite interesting.
Yeah. All right, so let's get started. Today, we're starting out with Ali Motamed, who says, thoughts on Sonic 2 if you've seen it by the time you're reading this. Oh man, this is quite the question to start with.
I loved it.
I loved it. I cried a little bit.
Yeah, I got very emotional about how much I love Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, me too. We were actually thinking about, like, oh, should we, like, record a video just talking about our thoughts on Sonic?
Yeah.
But then we were like, well, inevitably we're going to talk about it in the next Q&A.
Yeah. So. When we were considering recording a separate thing, that question got asked, and like I had already seen people echo. Like I kind of realized that I don't really think I had anything particularly groundbreaking to say about it.
I
like everything
either.
that I had in my head that was very significant has been echoed by other people who have seen and enjoyed the film. So there's a good chance if you've seen people say they like the movie, I feel more or less the same way.
Yeah, if anything, a lot of the caveats people had for not liking it, I actually don't share with a lot of them. Like, people are like, oh, the stuff with the humans went on too long. And, like, it's a 2-hour movie, so that didn't really bother me.
Yeah.
If I felt like it had been taking away from Sonic and his friends, I might have agreed. But honestly, I kind of like Sonic's parents. That's the one thing I didn't like. I didn't like Sonic's shoehorn to say, like, oh, Dad. I was like, can't Sonic, like, care about them and be taken care of them? Or taken care of by them without them being his parents.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It just felt kind of hokey to me. That was the only
I think
thing.
that was kind of like, I don't know that we even need to give it this like very direct familial label because it feels so clear that that's what it is.
They've adopted him. They gave him his own bedroom and they watch over him.
Yeah.
So like, you know, he doesn't need to
I
call
say
him
that in the
Dad.
same breath as I did feel that scene was sweet.
It was very sweet. No, I mean, like, I like Sonic's relationship to the humans, and I actually find all the tertiary human characters funny. I really like, oh god, I don't remember any of the human
Wade?
characters'
Is that the cop friend? Is that who you were going to mention?
No. I was going to say, the cop guy's wife's sister who was getting married.
Oh, the dad cop.
Yeah, the dad cop.
Rachel.
Rachel.
Sister. Yeah.
I like her. I like her daughter or her niece or whatever. I thought the wedding scenes were funny.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know. I like the human characters okay. And again, I think the fact that I didn't feel like they were detracting from Sonic at all in this movie made me like more okay with them.
I agree.
I loved Knuckles and Tails. I thought they were both really cute. If anything,
they like perfected Knuckles on their first shot. I was really, really impressed.
So I saw a couple people say like, oh, I don't like this whole like, oh, he's dumb and primitive thing. But it's like different iterations of Knuckles have had different spins on this idea that he's kind of naive. I didn't
really even get that he was dumb. I just, you know.
Well, the primitive talk, like, oh, what is ice cream? Like, that kind of thing, whereas Tails isn't. But, I mean, Knuckles assumably, like, raised himself alone in isolation. And Knuckles' gullibility has always kind of been like one of his key character traits.
Yeah, I mean, his first role in the Sonic game was exactly what it was in the movie.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I'm fine with them leaning into that characterization as long as that doesn't become like all he is like, haha.
Yeah.
What is the weed?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I think more than anything, it didn't really register to me as though it was like a negative character trait because it was so cute.
Yeah, I thought it was charming.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought the characters were really cute. I'm gonna... Oh, God, I guess I should have, like, spoiler warninged here a little bit. We haven't said anything too spoilery.
Yeah, I think we can avoid spoilering.
Do we have to?
I think we should. Because it's right up front.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts, and I just need you to know that at the credit sequence, I, like, punched my chair and screamed and cheered.
Yeah.
I was so... Like, I knew something was coming, but I didn't think it would be that. And I was so fucking stoked.
Yeah. Only thing I'll say is that it was a missed opportunity to open the film with a Run DMC song instead of a Sir Mix-a-Lot song, who's from Seattle. Opening sequence in Seattle.
True.
That dude has a song where he name drops the Taco Bell that used to be on Broadway. Rest in peace. I'm so sad I never got to go there.
Yeah, speaking of the music, I will say, if we had to have a dance-off set to modern pop music, I'm glad that it was Bruno Mars because I can tolerate that song.
Yeah, that just felt so like, that song is like 5 years old now. Like, that song felt more dated to me.
I thought it was cute.
Than the, like, deliberately older songs that they were pulling
like,
from.
the second they started playing it, I was like, this could have been 50 other cringier songs. I'm fine with it being this one.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And, like, I don't know. I feel like Bruno Mars is kind of, like, in the tone of Sonic music.
I agree.
Actually.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's all, like, Michael Jackson.
Well, yeah,
pastiche,
everyone's like, Bruno Mars is, like, modern Michael Jackson.
Is that what people say?
Well, I don't know. People say
I believe it.
I don't
believe
necessarily
it.
agree,
Yeah.
but I do think he's, like, kind of in the spirit of that sort of appeal of pop music.
And I know, speaking of music, I know this is like the one thing that everybody says about the movies, both movies now.
Yeah.
I counted 7 notes. Seven notes in a melody line of Sonic music in the entire film, including the credits.
All I could say is that if they don't figure that shit out by the next movie, if they don't use
the song,
well, one of the two songs.
Well, yeah.
In that movie,
it's going to be like a genuine... It's going to go from like, that's disappointing to like, they fucked up and the movie is worse because of it. This is devastating. Yeah.
I feel that strongly about how important the music is to what it is they're about to adapt.
Absolutely.
I'm
excited.
I'm excited. I had fun. I loved it more than the first one. I definitely felt like it was probably more alienating to people who don't know anything about Sonic.
You know, you say that, but I feel like I've seen a lot of people almost unanimously, no matter what their relationship to Sonic is, say that they liked the sequel more.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
like Kyle doesn't know much about Sonic, but you know, like number one takeaway was like, wow, that was great. That was so much better than the first.
Well, that's good
I think
to
just
hear.
by virtue of being more its own thing and having more of its own character and personality, it kind of inherently succeeds over the original.
Yeah, it was charming.
Yeah.
My only complaint even is that, like, I kind of felt like, unfortunately, introducing 2 new characters, Tails and Knuckles.
Yeah.
They kind of, like, competed for development.
I get that, yeah.
But, you know, they're also both pretty straightforward characters, so...
Yeah, I think that I maybe would have felt differently if I didn't know those characters.
And they did both individually
already.
get very good scenes. It's not like I was like, oh, you know, Tails...
Yeah, I think that's like... I saw people complain that, like, certain characters didn't have enough of an arc, but I guess I wasn't so much interested in arcs as I was having good character moments. Because that's always been true to Sonic.
I mean, honestly, like, I don't really care if Sonic characters have arcs or not. I just want fan service of them, like, interacting and being cute, and I got that. So
Absolutely.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It was a great time. I already want to see it again.
I know.
Dude, okay, so I have the bladder of a chihuahua, so I was like,
You can't. You're opening.
No. I'm speaking my truth. I was like, I'm going to pee twice before we go to the movie. I cannot miss a second of it.
Yeah.
So I peed before we left the house, and then I peed when we got there, and I was like, okay, I'm good. But I'm also always dehydrated, so I was sipping on my tea during the movie.
And tea's a diatriutic.
Yeah, I know, I fucked up. And then, like, God, not even an hour in, I feel like, I was like, fuck. I have to pee so bad.
Yeah.
So I kept holding it, like I didn't want to miss anything. I was just so into it. And then, like...
Someone's having a field day with this anecdote.
I know, shut up. Like, a scene of, like, the humans doing human things came out. I was like, okay, I'm gonna run.
Yeah, I don't think you missed any Sonic character stuff.
Okay.
Like, I think it was all human stuff.
That was the most important to me. But, dude, like, the bathroom was far away, too. It was, like, down a hall, around the corner,
Yeah, you were, like, winded when
stairs.
You came back.
Yeah.
I was impressed by how fast
you made it back. And I have asthma, so
I know.
I fucking hauled ass so I wouldn't miss any of the Sonic movie, which I think is thematically relevant.
It's all for Sonic.
Yeah, it was all for Sonic.
And speaking of Sonic,
should we go to our next question?
Yeah.
Onion Bub says, with the new movie just coming out, I figure I'd ask you what you think of the Sonic OVA. I recently watched it for the first time in probably close to 20 years and was reminded of how well stylized it is and how formative it was for me, being the first anime I'd seen outside of Pokemon and the like.
It's perfect.
That's interesting. The Sonic OVA is really charming. I mean, I don't think I can say anything good about it that hasn't already been said. If anything, I almost feel like it kind of lacks what I like about the Sonic movies in terms of, like, having more character fan service.
I agree.
Like, it's kind of just Sonic doing stuff.
Yeah.
There's a couple cute moments here and there, but I think there's too much doing and not enough being.
I agree.
In that movie, and that's my only, like...
But it's also so beautiful and
really
so well
cute.
Designed, and I love that the dub, you can clearly hear Sonic's actor struggling to mask an Australian accent.
Is it Australian or Canadian?
Sonic's voice actor is Australian. I don't know about everyone else.
Okay. I'm so fascinated by the decision to give us a president and his cat girl daughter.
Yeah, the president has a cat girl daughter.
It was...
What more do you need?
I'm just so
I love
curious.
that the United States president has been a fixture in Sonic across, like, every iteration. I love it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a thing in Sonic X. It's a thing in Shadow the Hedgehog and SA2.
Yeah.
Is it Shadow where we learn that the president has a
framed photo of Sonic and Shadow on his desk?
Yeah, that's perfect. God, I love Sonic.
Me too. Doot.wave says, where do you find new anime either for videos or for fun? Do you have a process or website you like to look through? If so, I'd love to hear about it. Jeans also asked a similar question. So
I talk a little bit about it. It's okay. In the intro to my next video. A lot of it is having friends with good taste. Like, when I was starting out for the countryside video, I was like, all right, let me see what I can do by searching, like, pastoral anime and, like, looking at some listicles or whatever to see if that spawns any other ideas off of that. Like, I know this is shitty or whatever, but, like, I never even read the text, like, the body of them. I just kind of scroll through for names.
I do that for itch.io games.
Yeah.
I just look at the picture and the title, and then I'm like, all right, interesting.
Yeah. But then I also went like, hey, I have this really niche, like, specific topic I want to cover in a video. What comes to mind? And it was those friends of mine who recommended Super Cub and Non Non Biori and Yuru Camp. A lot of the other ones I just kind of found on my own, though. Like Nia Under 7, I watched for a totally different video because I was researching stuff surrounding Lane when I was working on the Lane PS1 video. It feels like I made that video a billion years ago at this point.
Ancient.
So a lot of it is just kind of like seeing something and going, well, what the fuck is up with this? And then saving it for later. AnyList has a really, really robust search feature. You can search by, like, a range of years, by OVA, by production country, by, like, a bunch of really niche genre tags. It's really helpful because you can sort by popularity, and then you just got to scroll all the way to the bottom and just see what kind of insane, arcane, unfindable crust you can come across.
Mind you, I don't watch as much anime as Hazel, but I really just kind of have to happen upon something.
Yeah.
And it has to, like, come to me at the right time when I feel like engaging with something new.
Yeah.
I'm pretty scattershot with when and why I decide to watch new anime.
Yeah.
So... Jeans also asked, are there any shows you consider essential to watch, either because they're historically important or just because you like them?
I think I've stated pretty thoroughly that I'm not really into mecha or just like mechs in general. I've tried and it's just never really clicked with me for whatever reason. But that being said, my brain grew 3 sizes like the Grinch's heart when I watched the original Gundam series. That was a really invaluable viewing experience that I really wish I had given myself earlier. I really loved it. The fact that the show's budget was low meant that there weren't a lot of robot fights. So it was, like, I know the meme is that people are like, unlike other mecha anime, this one focuses on the character. But no, like the prototypical one, it also focuses on the characters almost exclusively. And I think it's better for it. I loved it a lot. I really fell in love with the characters in a way I wasn't even expecting. And it also just like laid out right in front of me, like, oh, this is where, like, yeah, it's one of those things where you can know the Gundam inspired fucking everything that's ever come since. Mm-hmm. But actually sitting down and watching it and seeing how deep that influence actually runs it was really elucidating for me.
Felt that way about watching Twin Peaks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Both honestly, on the Western and the Japanese front, honestly.
Yeah, I would say that Twin Peaks is weirdly an essential watch, especially for Japanese video games, almost more so than Japanese TV or anime. Aside from that, I mean... That's hard. Like, I feel like there are... You know what? I'll say watch a few of the Urusei Yatsura movies.
Yeah.
Those are pretty important.
I mean, I know it's like...
Like, they reference Beautiful Dreamer in the Lucky Star OVA, and it's like they draw attention to it so, like, barely that I wasn't even sure it was a reference at first. Mm-hmm. Like, that's one that pops up all over the place.
Mm-hmm. I know it's like, duh, because, like... even Arthur has referenced it, but like,
oh yeah,
Teisukes is the god of manga for a reason, and I really recommend like engaging with some form of Teisukes, whether that be the original manga or an anime adaptation. I haven't seen a lot of adaptations of his manga, so I can't attest to their quality, but I've watched some of the various Blackjack OVAs and whatever, and
the Blackjack manga is...
Blackjack is such an easy read. It's so compelling.
It's one of those things where you go into it thinking like, okay, this is going to be dated both in terms of its understanding of the medical world, but also in its like pacing. But it really kind of came out fully formed in a way that's really impressive.
I mean, the thing about Teisukes' works too is even in the regards in which they're like aged or a little bit like old-fashioned, I suppose. It's clear that he approached his topics with a lot of empathy.
Yeah, it's incredibly good-natured.
With a lot of good-natured intentions. So it's like, early on in Blackjack, I have to be so careful not to say Jack Black. Early on in Blackjack, there's a chapter about a woman that he falls in love with, and she has to like get her ovaries removed or something. So then she decides to live as a man. And
well, I think what happens is it's like a fictional, or it might be based on a real medical phenomenon where, for whatever reason, this character's ovaries being removed means that I want to say that like testosterone starts being like produced.
I don't remember the details, but either way, she has to have something removed. Yeah. She decides to live her life as a man, and because she's a man now, they can't be together. Yeah, which is kind of like old-fashioned moment. But it's not treated like, I don't know. It's not as
that
bad
chapter
as it sounds. It's a very... Why'd she fall asleep?
I don't know.
Hope that didn't mess up our recording.
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
It's, it is a very intimate chapter in a way that I think most other works trying to tackle a similar subject matter would be much more scandalous about.
Yeah. Like, I don't think there's any... I don't know. He just approaches it with kindness, and you can tell he didn't mean it in any kind of which way.
Yeah.
You can see that a lot with, like, Princess Knight, too, where he's trying to kind of tackle this idea of, like, gender, but he's still kind of doing it in a very male versus female.
Yeah.
Like, they are two different things. They make your brain different, kind of. But he doesn't do it in this kind of, like, curmudgeonly old man way. He just kind of does it in a naive way.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like he's still trying to, like, push those boundaries.
Yeah.
Essentially. And
I also think that there's a particular way of writing that sort of thing that male authors from that era, and even into, like, through the 2000s, they do this thing where they think that they're the first person to like, they think that they invented that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm the first person to ever conceive of what would happen if a person's gender changed.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of inherently is a little bit easier to stomach in that regard, because it's not kind of pulling from these very taboo societal ideas.
Yeah.
Also, like, Teisukes was so prolific that, like, I mean, you know, he did stuff for kids, he did stuff for adults, he did stuff in, like, Gekiga magazines, he did stuff in like, you know, he adapted stuff specifically for animation, he did stuff for manga, like, he's really done it all. And I think that you could put all of his works into a hat and then just kind of pull them at random, and you'd get something at least worth reading the first volume of.
Yeah.
I'm currently reading The Book of Human Insects, which is a 70s manga of his. And, like, you know, I've read Blackjack. It's a really good comic, but reading Book of Human Insects, I'm like, oh my God, this is someone who just, like, the kind of feverish passion and energy for telling stories in that medium is bewildering. Like, every panel, every page layout is so, like, considered and thorough and next fucking level that it honestly, like, outside of the art style clearly being dated and it kind of coming off like a 70s giallo or a similar kind of thriller, it feels like it hasn't aged a day.
Yeah, no, you can really feel Teisukes' love for the medium and everything he did. Like, he was never content to fall into, I don't know, like a rote formula. I feel that he was always kind of pushing it and trying to see what else he could do to get his ideas across.
Yeah.
And really admired that about him.
I also have to imagine that Ultra Q, Ultra 7, and Ultra 7 might be something different. Like, the really early tokusatsu shows are probably really important for getting, like, a broader understanding of anime as a whole, because so many creators from the 90s grew up on toku almost more so than anime. And that's something that I really want to fill out. I really want to watch Ultra Q.
Yeah, I wish I had more interest in tokusatsu.
Yeah, it's something I'm really not, like, if it weren't for the cultural impact, I probably wouldn't go out of my way for it. But I just, like, I know that's something that is going to be, like, too major a blind spot for me to continue to let it being that way.
The Cutie Honey live action movie was all the tokusatsu I need.
It's the greatest movie ever made. That's recommended.
Oh, yeah.
Essential watching the live action Cutie Honey film.
How the heck do I? Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
All right. Turnip says, I couldn't help but cheer at the mention of an anime food video being an idea on the back burner, as that's a topic I'd be absolutely enthralled to hear you discuss in further detail. I love whenever a piece of media slows down to let characters make or share a meal, and its power to build their relationships or to contribute to the larger world building. What are some other examples of your and Alyssa's favorite anime food moments, ones you find particularly memorable, for any reason, from having narrative weight to being aesthetically pleasing? I immediately have an answer for this. Obviously, I have extremely complicated feelings, sometimes leaning negative, especially towards the manga author about Made in Abyss. But one of my absolute favorite things about the anime adaptation was the eating scenes, because not only are they like satisfying, and not only do they like approach the unique ways different kinds of fantasy creatures could be cooked and prepared, and like what different I don't know, they just got into the details of cooking fantasy food in a way that really appealed to me, and like it always thematically supported this idea of like, we're kind of in this dire situation. It's kind of hard and scary to have to kill things that are trying to kill us and to eat them. And it can even be bittersweet sometimes, but we have to eat to live another day, basically. Like, I think there's one creature that they mentioned that has probably eaten, like, other humans before, and it's, like, kind of scary and bittersweet to eat its meat, but that they eat it to survive and continue living. And then also, obviously, the scene where they feed Nanachi, who's never had a good meal in their entire life.
That
and
scene is very cute.
They start crying.
Yeah.
Is extremely good.
Any scene from anything that involves both food and crying is just an all-timer in my book.
Yeah.
However, my answer is the Taco Cornet scene from Lucky Star.
Shut up. Shut the fuck up. I mean, I know this is an easy one, but I do think quite frequently about the big, fat, juicy bacon and eggs that Hal prepares.
Oh, that's such a cute scene. Yeah.
I would do anything to eat that, eggs and bacon. What's another good one? I mean, I know you talked about it, but all the food in your camp.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. Although the person who commented, like, I can attest, camping food is not that good.
Yeah.
kind of broke my heart.
And it's like deep down I knew that was the case.
I know it to be true, but I want to believe.
Yeah.
What other good anime food is there?
I'm blanking.
I'm blanking too.
Yeah, I feel like I had like a short list in like a Word document for a potential video outline, but I can't think of them offhand. It's funny because even though I really like Sweetness and Lightning, I can't think of any individual scene that felt very poignant food-wise.
Yeah, I feel like Sweetness and Lightning is more focused on the preparation.
Which I really like about it.
Yeah, which I enjoy, but I don't remember seeing the food and particularly thinking like I would do anything to eat that.
Yeah, definitely.
Aquatic Pixel says, do you have any favorite game soundtracks? I notice you use a lot of game music in your videos.
Evergrace 2. I mean, basically, like every Kota Hoshino soundtrack, obviously. I haven't even played most of those games, and I just like the music in isolation. I mean, I know it's like a really obvious one, but Silent Hill 2 and 3. The thing is, it almost feels too obvious to say, but like you can basically identify either Sonic or Katamari in basically every piece of music I've ever written. If you squint hard enough, it's all there.
This isn't like one of my favorites, but I was reminded today of how like interesting the Billy Hatcher soundtrack is.
Oh yeah, I love that soundtrack.
Like its use of samples is so like distinct.
It's got that the composer who did the One Room Factory opening.
Oh.
No, it's got that sensibility.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the Room Factory Frontier.
Yeah, the dude from Kipthone.
Yeah. I would almost say like it's almost kind of adjacent to Jet Set Radio, just in terms of like being a pastiche of sounds.
Yeah,
but it's like it leans
without the big chungus funny meme man,
and it leans a lot more Shibuya-kei than it does like hip hop.
That's very true. I didn't quite think of it that way.
I would only make that connection just because they're both Sega games.
Yeah. I think that's very astute because. I want to say, like, Yukari Fresh did at least the main theme.
Right, yeah.
And that definitely shows. Yeah. I can't think of many others, even though I know there are so many. I guess specifically where Sonic is concerned, I really like Tomoya Otani's work on the series. In 06 in particular, 06 has a fucking amazing soundtrack.
For no reason.
Unleashed does as well. Knuckles Chaotix is... The music in that game is outstanding.
I love every Sonic soundtrack. Yeah. I love them all.
Pretty much any soundtrack from a game that has like a big like kind of city pop influence to it is always gonna hit for me. Like I know like city pop is like so like lowest common denominator in that like of course everybody likes
but
it,
it's
but
good,
but it's good for a reason. I don't know. I tend to like game OSTs that don't quite sound like game OSTs. Which is why Katamari and Kota Hoshino were like the first things to come to mind.
I know this is also an easy answer, but rather than any specific soundtrack, I like the Kirby music that like makes me feel like I'm being beaten by 10 children on a trampoline. Yeah,
you're being hunted for sport. Yeah, I agree.
The particularly penis-y Kirby tracks are all my favorite.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I'm especially an enormous fan of Kirby 64's like sound font. Like every single sound font in that game is perfect to me.
If I use the song in a video, it's a pretty good chance that I like that game's entire soundtrack if I've heard it. Yeah.
Bree 1997 says, growing up in the rural Midwest, this video made me pretty nostalgic and emotional. Do you ever get emotional or wrapped up in an anime or song you use for these videos?
Yeah, I got really emotional editing the very last part of that video. Not even like it never has anything to do with any of what I'm saying. But number one, it was like, oh, thank God I'm finally done with this video. But it was also like just watching that sequence from the first Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko OVA was like it was very affecting the first time I saw it, but I tend to find that like the second time I watch through something is when it like really hits even further. I also got really emotional editing all the parts of me talking about Nia under 7. I had this weird arc with it where like I can't remember if I say this outright in the video or not, but like I went into that anime like being like I went into my rewatch of that show thinking like I don't even know if I like this thing, but I'm very like compelled by it, to finishing my second and then inevitably my third rewatch being like, I think this is like one of my favorite anime ever. The Tenchi in Love section really got me. Alyssa wrote most of the emotional stuff in that video. I don't think I ever mentioned it, but she kind of
made myself cry.
You literally said it out loud, and I was like desperately trying to keep up typing what you were saying. You just kind of were like, Hazel, I need you to write this down. Something came to me fully formed.
Yeah.
And it went in almost exactly as it was written. And yeah, that was another one where like I was working on it really late into the night, and I kind of reached a point of feeling sort of like delusional, barely keeping it together, and that really hit me there. When I finished the Elfin Lead video and I had that final cut to black, it was this moment of like, oh, fuck me. How am I supposed to, what do I even do now that it's done? The answer was battle uploading it properly. But, you know, I really had this kind of moment of like the kind of feeling that you get when a chapter in your life definitively ends. I think those are all the main ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're good.
Actually, a dog says, hey, I've really liked a lot of the music you've mentioned in the past, BP and Brave Little Abacus in particular. Just wondering, is there anything more mainstream or basic you also enjoy? Or alternatively, if there's some even deeper cuts you recommend. P.S. Can't wait to give the new stuff a listen. Pop Spirit has become the only label I listen to more than K.
Aw, I'm really flattered by that. As far as deeper cuts, I'm not sure if you listen to Pod Spirit, the podcast that I do, but we talk about a lot of stuff there, and we did an episode recently where Nikki and I both just randomly happened to do a really big deep dive on a whole bunch of different really obscure Japanese bands. And there was a lot of good stuff to be found in there, Popcatcher in particular. As far as more mainstream stuff that I like, I basically like every modern pop song with the 2-5-1 as its main progression, which is kind of everywhere these days.
Yeah.
It's like either that or like the really kind of like pulled back, like minimalist pop music, which doesn't really do anything for me.
I like old Maroon 5.
Oh, yeah.
And I like Doja Cat.
Yeah, I also like Doja Cat.
I kind of only like her hits, which is...
Yeah, I mean, that's like by design,
but,
you know?
You know.
I think that's kind of it. Like, I really don't want to sound pretentious. I mean, fucking, I like Weezer, you know? Like, that's about as basic as it gets. Or that's about as basic as one's taste can be. I mean, not about as basic as it gets for me. I need to clarify.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'll listen to anything if it's catchy.
Yeah.
Like, literally anything. I have no pretensions about listening to something if it gets stuck in my head. Joystick and Zane both pointed out that Hazel included Rascal does not dream of Bunny Girl Senpai despite it not being an isekai, and asked what Hazel thinks of Black Midi.
Oh, the Black Midi one was specifically Joystick. I don't know if they mean the band or the
probably
movement.
The phenomenon of Black Midi, right?
But I haven't ever listened to the band, but the phenomenon of it I think is really fascinating. There's a really good Sam Sutherland video from like 10 years ago about Black Midi that is a lot of fun.
I don't know if this...
It all comes back to Toho is the thing.
So true.
Like, that's what I love so much about it, is that it's like, it literally, it all comes back to Toho.
My favorite Vivino series song, the guy who composed it started the song out by drawing a picture of Sans on the MIDI roll.
That's so funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was like, this is what got the song started. I don't know if that's really Black Midi, but just thinking of MIDI
stuff
rolls
like
made
that.
me think of that.
Yeah.
So many people in your comments got so mad about Bunny Girl Senpai being shown during the isekai section. I don't know anything about it.
I saw it in a list of isekai titles. I literally, like, look, I know that this is basic, but it was for a 10-second gag. I didn't think anybody would take it fucking seriously. I put a The World is a Beautiful Place and I'm No Longer Afraid to Die album cover in there. I don't know anything about isekai. I don't have any opinion on isekai. I saw it in a list of, like, ridiculous isekai titles, and I was like, word, I see that thing sometimes, I'm sure. Whatever. It's got a very specific title. It captures the same energy of things having to sell themselves in their entirety based on their title alone. It's close enough to the point that I'm arguing.
Yeah, people in your comments were mad.
Oh, no. Oh, believe me, I know.
It's Riley Me says, you and Thor's videos are, at times, conversational in a unique way. It isn't exactly novel, but very open and honest about how they're constructed, like looking at an old house whose framing is left exposed. I've recently gone through Thor's catalog from the last 2 years and have been periodically rewatching your old stuff, There's always an idea, point, GIF, or S-tier PS1 render that isn't just shared, but built upon and articulated in an interesting way. Then you have co-writers like Nikki and Alyssa. Hi, Alyssa, if you're reading this, that's me. Who also built out these perspectives on media. Often you don't see the back and forth development that goes into an analysis in other video essay channels, so it's pretty rad to pick out. How important is that communication and the people in your circle in mutually building the topics you want to discuss?
It's the most important thing, for sure. My approach to media was very different before I started making videos. I definitely used to take more of like a sort of like pseudo academic approach to things that I have grown really. I've come to find that that's just kind of like anathema to what I value in art. But, you know, like obviously I started to take a more historical contextual approach when I started making videos because that felt like it was of more value than me just sort of expressing my opinion on something. And then I linked up with Thor and we kind of built out our mutual friends. And my approach to media changed pretty fundamentally there as well. I think that like as a result, how do I put it? I think being in that in that tight-knit group of people and communicating with people like Thor and Nikki and my darling wife, it really kind of like allowed me to not feel like I needed to get wrapped up in sort of like prefacing things as how they apply to like an objective perspective on art, which like I was already kind of growing out of, but now it's like, you know, I don't feel the obligation to, and people in the comments don't really seem to mind. So it kind of feels like this thing that I've come to realize is a lot more like vestigial than I ever realized. I think it just kind of caused me to be more kind of fresh in how I approach things and kind of hone in very directly on the things that I care about in a piece and not feel like I'm giving an incomplete piece of media analysis or critique or whatever you want to call it, just because I don't go through a rundown of what the work's like story beats are. Mm-hmm. So yeah, very, very important, that communication. I think that I've definitely done more sort of like developing of my own taste in having those conversations with friends than I have making videos. Like I think my videos are much more the result of those conversations.
Mm-hmm. It's Riley Me also says, second, I've been playing Grandia on my freshly modded quote-unquote new 3DS. Fuck the big N, because of your video. Since you showed some later footage, how much more have you played, and are you still vibing with it?
If I showed any later footage, it was in commercials for the game. I mean, I played, what was it, like 17 hours? 12 hours? I don't remember how much I put into it, but that was as far as I played. And I haven't picked it up since because that video is so fucking laborious to work on that I just haven't felt like touching anything from it.
Aww.
I do want to get back to it eventually, though. I really adore that game.
Yeah, Agatha also asked about Grandia and asked for my thoughts. Unfortunately, I didn't play it and I didn't watch Hazel play it, so I don't have thoughts, but it looks really cool.
I really wanted to get back into playing it with you, but then we got distracted with other stuff.
Yeah,
we played Dragon Guard 3 and... We've also just been busy with different projects. Mm-hmm. I don't think I knew that Grandia was playable on a 3DS. I didn't know that the new 3DS had, I don't know if it's Saturn or PS1 emulation support. That's crazy if so.
Yeah, that's modding. Morpheus brings up the notion that Australian media often has a focus on the countryside, but that countryside looks much more like the Mad Max wastelands that you mentioned, and the interesting dichotomies in which countrysides get to be romanticized and which don't.
So this is a really insightful question that I wanted to include all of, but just for time reasons and for the sake of Alyssa, I had to kind of truncate. I think that it is very, very true that, like, I think it was Blue Socket mentioned in the reply to that, like, a lot of the really sort of, like, gorgeous, quote-unquote, natural landscapes are the result of hundreds of years of very precise agricultural effort. And I think that I probably could have stood to have described it as, like, Fallout style wastelands, but I wanted to go back to the source, and from my understanding, Mad Max is, like, kind of the progenitor to that particular flavor of post-apocalypse, where you don't really see too much visual life, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. But I also know that that's a misnomer, right? Like the Morpheus specifies that, like, the place that Mad Max was filmed wasn't, like, treated for that set, for that film. It just looks like that. And that, like, a lot of the Australian countryside looks like that. And I think that I definitely could have I don't know, just, like, gotten more into that and kind of dug in a little bit deeper, even in just, like, one additional line, because, like, obviously the desert is, like, a very dense, very intricate, very beautiful ecosystem unto itself. And I think that even as I was making that video, I was trying to be really cognizant of, like, I don't want to sort of, like, idealize a very specific geographical, but more importantly, cultural idea of the countryside. I definitely tried to be careful about that. And I think that was definitely one area where I could have thought about it a little deeper. Like, I know Thor really likes, like, sort of, like, desert landscapes and games and stuff like that, and always makes a point to kind of talk about that in a way that I think a lot of other people are like, oh, it's just, like, you know, like, they talk about it the same way one would talk about, like, an ice level, you know, as being sort of perfunctory. And then Morpheus also asks what we think about Pokemon ROM hacks and fan games. I love them. I've played a lot of them. I don't really know what the scene is like these days, but
someone make a Pokemon fan game that is only dinosaur Pokemon, and I will play the shit out of it.
It's true.
Because I don't have enough dinosaur games that are cute and don't involve killing the dinosaurs. Arpeggio says, do you have any specific YouTube channels that you can point to as direct inspirations for you? Do you have any recommendations for channels that share a similar philosophy to reviewing anime or games? So as far as inspirations, I genuinely, unironically, AVGN is a big one, just because it's so sort of ingrained inside of me. Super Bunny Hop was, I think, like, I think kind of like going back to those videos and realizing just how much research was put into every single sentence of those videos is really impressive, and kind of taught me, like, oh yeah, like, you can sort of, you can learn so much about the world and about how the world works just by kind of shining a magnifying glass on the right part of either an industry or, like, a work itself. You'll notice that, like, I think the only anime or manga channel that I can really point to as an influence is Super Eye Patch Wolf, especially where editing is concerned. When I was first gearing up to make a video about a manga, I went and rewatched a few of his videos. This was in, like, oh gosh, it was a long time ago. I went and rewatched a few of his videos just to, like, study how he presented pages of manga in, like, a video format. And that was really helpful. As far as, like, other, like, long-running influences, Stop Skeletons from Fighting, formerly the Happy Video Game Nerd, is a big one. I think you can definitely see where I was kind of, like,
The way that those early Happy Video Game Nerd videos would open with like musical sections, I think you definitely see that in what I do now. Mm-hmm. And then like aside from that, like I try to get influence from stuff outside of YouTube itself. So Kayla Janis, the author of The House of Psychotic Women, is a big one. I think that her approach to transgressive media really kind of helped to reshape and to codify feelings I was feeling about that sort of thing. And I think that it I think it's also pretty like apparent in what I do. I can't speak much to channels that share like an explicitly similar philosophy outside of Thor's work, obviously, and the work of all of my friends. Just because I don't want to put words in these other channels' mouths. But as far as other channels that I really like that do kind of dig into a historical or cultural context for the work that they're discussing and that they're passionate about, I really like Bowl of Lentils. I've shouted that channel out in... I think it was the RPG video. Mm-hmm. Mercury Falcon is another channel that I like a lot, who talks about 80s anime and tokusatsu from a historical lens. Really impressed by the research that goes into those videos. I would really like to look into some of the sources that channel uses, because they're very in-depth. Very efficient. I also want to shout out the podcast Thick Lines. It's a podcast about underground comics. I really like that podcast. I've been slowly working my way through it. And then also, I really like Toonrific Tariq. I think that's great. I think that his kind of ethos for being very sort of free form and kind of casual about what it means for like a review or a critique to have like a sort of quote unquote form is really refreshing.
Every time I watch a Tariq video, I feel like I am entering into a unique experience. Yeah. And that's something I really like about his videos.
Yeah, I really, really appreciate his work, and I get really excited whenever a new upload drops. So I think those are the big ones.
Hell yeah. I don't watch YouTube. Just kidding, I do.
Oh, I really like Pat Mac.
Oh, yeah, I miss him. Come back, King. Miss you so much. Feel like we've rewatched every single Pat Mac video like
so many times.
5 times.
And they never get old.
No, they're timeless. Omen Machine says, as you stated in the video, aliens and furries do not have the best track record as allegories for racism. Do you have any examples of anime or other media that tackles the topic of racism well?
Do you? I mean, I think you really said it best when it's like, I wish that more works could just tackle racism instead of having to
hide it behind allegories.
Yeah,
and metaphors.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. To be honest, not really off the top of my head. I feel like a lot of stories kind of tentatively touch on the idea. Like, I don't know, we're watching Nadia and she like gets mad and assumes someone is calling her exotic because she has brown skin, and I was kind of surprised that the series was even quite that direct about it. I kind of expected it was just like, well, she's fantasy girl brown, not like brown, so it's totally different. But no, the idea of characters being racist towards her comes up a couple of times, which surprised me. Wouldn't say that's necessarily a good or a bad discussion of racism, but it at least is an acknowledgement that it exists, which is more than what I'm used to. Geez, I don't really have anything off the top of my head, but if anyone has any suggestions, I would be really very curious.
I mean, I guess like Grave of the Fireflies kind of touches on it. It sort of orbits it.
Really?
Like,
I don't really remember.
I mean, just in terms of like I guess more so I should say how that film is presented to Americans.
Right.
It kind of becomes about in part, like, the kind of human cost that America of the 1940s kind of flipping off the empathy switch had. But obviously, that is a film that is primarily, like, by a Japanese audience for a Japanese audience. Sure. So it almost feels a little voyeuristic for me in and of itself to kind of frame it that way.
Well, I think there's a lot of Japanese media that touches on xenophobia.
Yeah, xenophobia,
as a broader idea, but I wouldn't say that is always necessarily hand in hand with racism
definitely.
Or the specific topics of, like, colorism or whatever. But yeah, I don't know if anyone has suggestions for good anime that tackle racism. I've heard mixed things about, what's it called, Caroline and Tuesday.
Caroline Tuesday, yeah.
I've heard
I haven't seen it.
It's pretty decent with its depiction of stuff.
Yeah.
I
heard that go both ways. There was a lot of discourse about that show that seemed very centralized, and I didn't really catch more than a few glimpses of it.
Yeah, I saw people kind of bicker back and forth about whether or not it handled gender stuff well, and honestly, upon a read, I was like, that doesn't bother me too much, but I could see that making someone uncomfortable. Whatever. Your mileage may vary. Codfish Cartographer says, do you guys have a cute story of how you met? If you don't, or you're not comfortable sharing it, can you make one up?
I really wish that we didn't feel comfortable sharing it so that we could make one up. I mean, honestly, like, Alyssa had collaborated with a mutual friend of ours a long time ago, and I had stumbled across that collaboration and gave her a follow on a whim, and then we just started talking.
Yeah, we just kind of hit it off. We were both really interested in speed runs at the time, and both had misguided aspirations of getting good at speedrunning ourselves.
Yeah.
So kind of as an excuse to hang out with each other on Skype, we were like, oh, let's practice speedrunning Mario Sunshine
we sound
together.
So fucking old.
I know, Skype. And I don't think we were actually that into the idea of getting, like, good at Super Mario Sunshine speedruns, but it kind of just gave us a reason to hang out regularly. And then actually back then, before we were dating, we wanted to do a Sonic podcast that we recorded some episodes for too and never posted.
Yeah.
All of it was just kind of...
all roads lead back to Sonic.
Yeah, so, and then obviously that was over the internet, so I think we decided to start dating after a while.
Yeah.
And then we met in real life pretty shortly after that.
Yeah, we were long distance for 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We met up in real life several times.
Maybe it was only 4 years.
But it feels like it was 5.
Yeah.
Maybe we knew each other for 1 year. And
we knew each other for a year and then our relationship in totality, we were long distance for 5 years, but our romantic relationship, we were long distance for 4.
Yeah.
Is I think how that shakes out.
Yep.
Yeah.
We moved in and it's been great.
Yeah.
Wait, I want to hear what your fanfic for us meeting would be, though.
We both go to public school together.
Aww. I was homeschooled.
You come up to me and you shove me into a locker and call me the F slur.
No!
And then, I don't know.
I would have never. I was Christian.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
That just reminds me of the Chainsaw Man guy being like, Power is based on a girl I had a crush on who, like, knocked over my bike and was like, what are you gonna do about it?
And for some reason it always made me incredibly happy, he said.
That changed my taste in women.
Yeah, he gets it. Yeah, that's more or less, yeah.
I would be the girl knocking over your bike.
Yeah. No, you're only a Chad now.
I'm only a Chad now. I was a frail, weak, soft-spoken, cuckold.
Yeah, so was I. So we were a perfect match.
We would have gotten along.
Yeah.
Dawn says, hey, Hazel, I wanted to ask if you have any tips / what is your process on starting a script for a video? It's something I've wanted to try, but the starting process is pain since I have trouble putting my thoughts into cohesive words, and whatever I write out comes out as word vomit. Sorry if you've answered this before, but I thought I'd ask. No stress about asking questions like that because my answer is almost always slightly different every time, so do not worry. I am a compulsive organizer. We were on the phone with my little sister earlier today, and I was sitting next to our shelf and I just started rearranging it while we were talking.
So when I'm writing down my thoughts on a series, I will just kind of arbitrarily group them into bigger kind of points or subjects or whatever, and take those notes in that format, and then just kind of organize it into something that resembles a structure that flows well and that makes sense. And then I will write kind of all the first draft usually for me is kind of just a matter of filling out the holes in the script, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like kind of like filling in the gaps that wasn't covered in the framework already. So it tends to go something like that. That works for me. I know other people who sometimes just kind of need to start writing somewhere once they've fully consumed it. Mm-hmm. So it kind of depends on what kind of person you are.
Yeah, for me, I feel like I kind of have to just like get inspired with some fully formed paragraphs, and then I just kind of rearrange them. But I'm not a good example. Two Cat says, you mentioned not really liking the way Brand New Animal handled its racism stuff in the video in the previous Q&A, which I understand, but what did you think about the rest of it, if you don't mind me asking?
I haven't seen any of it. I'm just going off of what some friends have told me. I've been burned enough by Trigger Productions that I'm not going to go out of my way for any of them. My friend Nikki and my friend Wyatt, who do the podcast Explode When Defeated Presents Discuss All Monsters, which is a great podcast, were watching it as it was airing, and they were like, 4 episodes in, they were like, holy shit, they're getting it right this time. And then like one episode dropped, and they were like, I can't believe they fucked it that bad. Like, I can't believe we let them do this again. So I was going purely off of that. I try not to imply that I have opinions on things I haven't seen in full, but you know.
Yeah, I also have just heard friends.
If I wasn't using a clip of Brand New Animal there, I would have used a clip of Zootopia.
Which I have seen, and I liked it when it came out, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Elias Rosner says, do you think U.S. audiences are just worse at finding these kinds of slower experimental shows engaging? Or maybe not worse, but trained to dismiss them more? Just keep having this thought that we equate uneventful, i.e. lacking in events, with the pejorative boring, and therefore as a waste of time. Maybe capitalism has broken us into human doings, like the Scatman said after all. I've had this running theory for a long time that Americans in particular have shorter attention spans and expect things to like not waste any time. Even just going to animation school, most of my professors hammered it home into my head that every second of animation needs to convey something, which, not to say that quieter moments aren't capable of doing, but it did kind of have this implication that like you shouldn't be wasting time.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of a uniquely American perspective on life.
Yeah,
and
that's like I say like Americans specifically, not just like Western or like Anglo or whatever. I think Americans in particular, Americans
live at a very breakneck speed. I mean, I feel like you see that in many different aspects of how we live our lives. We don't take as much time to appreciate nature.
Yeah,
we're very like, we need quick fixes for things so that we can go back to work.
Yeah,
etc. etc.
And like obviously like capitalism is brokening our brains all over the world. So I don't think that it's necessarily a matter of like, oh, we want instant gratification because we are such a fiercely consumerist society. Yeah. But I also think that
there's just something definitely cultural about the way we consume media.
Definitely.
The first time I ever had this thought was when this was like back in my teens. I became aware of the fact that movies and trailers had different names and different editing in their trailers in different regions. So like I watched a bunch of trailers for Pixar movies that were for a Japanese audience because I was curious. And I think at the time Up was coming out.
Yeah, what is that? Grandpa Carl's Floating House or whatever is the Japanese title?
Yeah, like Carl Uji-chan no Tobu Ie or something. And I remember thinking that the Up trailer for America looked so bad. Like, it looked really cringy. It was like, haha, wacky talking dogs, crazy little boy. What? Like, it was just really annoying. It was fucking annoying. But then the movie wasn't like that at all. Whereas, like, the Japanese trailer was very, like, I don't know, gentle piano music, very, like, heartfelt, which I felt like was a little bit more in line with the tone of the actual movie. So from then on, I watched a lot of trailers, both in English and Japanese, and I really felt that, like, Japanese trailers were less breakneck and less, like, gag and, like, music cuts out. Uh-oh, awkward.
well, that just happened.
And I think that speaks to the short attention span of Americans in their advertising, too. Like, our advertising and our trailers and what catches our eyes.
It's almost certainly Reagan's fault or Nixon's fault. You know, it's one of them in there somewhere.
Yeah, fuck those guys.
I do think that it's probably in part like a kind of like start 'em young sort of thing. Like the Reagan administration being like, no, I think it actually is good if we advertise to children.
God.
I think that would stimulate the economy. Kind of like instilled in children like this kind of like constant like stimuli being blasted at their faces because that's what works in advertising.
Yeah.
Again, not to say that that's even specific to America, but it's hard to know.
Well, not to say it's even inherently good or bad, although I do think it's bad to not stop and sniff the roses.
I think that's bad to not do that. I think we should all be doing that a little more.
But rather not to imply having a short attention span is bad, or not being capable of appreciating whatever.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't know. I've certainly gotten bored by things too that people insist that I just need to be more patient.
Yeah,
with,
absolutely. Same here.
It's just an observation.
I think I said it in the video, but like it's a skill that I think is worth developing.
Yeah.
If it strikes you a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lene says, is there a sweet or candy in particular that you feel nostalgic for because of eating it in your childhood?
Those little Mexican strawberry candies that have the little strawberry print wrappers.
Those are so cute.
Yeah.
For me, it's got to be jelly beans. And I really liked Tootsie Pops.
Yeah, did you also believe the superstition that when there's the quote unquote Indian with the star next to his bow and arrow, that if you took that into a shop you could get a exchanged for a free one?
I think that used to be true.
It never was
with like dimes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I watched a video about it. It was never explicitly true, but a lot of places would honor it because they sold them for like 25 cents to begin with.
Right.
Yeah,
that's cute.
Yeah. Crozy asks for whether or not I remember Princess Ai and if I know what the deal with it is. I will be extremely brief in summarizing it. It was a Tokyo Pop thing where Stu Levy and fucking Courtney Love came together to conceptualize a manga for their, I don't know if it was for their Western comics imprint or if they then teamed up with a Japanese artist to bring it to fruition, but it was a big flop. That is on my list of things that I want to do a video about because that story is so insane, but I will say that if I do it, it will not be the first video on Tokyo Pop I do. That's all I'm going to say.
I know what that's about.
I should make that video at some point.
You should. It's going to be quite the undertaking, though.
Yeah, that's the thing that's kept me from doing it is that, like, there are kind of a lot of weird ethics at play. Yeah.
Say no more.
Yeah.
Rupee Screamer says, wow, it was a real thrill to see Lost in Blue footage in this video. I haven't met anyone else who's played that game. I picked it up when I was a kid, literally because it had anime characters on the cover. Certified proto-weeb moment. How did you get introduced to the series?
Nintendo Power.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Nintendo Power giving it like a 7 out of 10 and me being like, whoa, you're like on an island with a girl? I tried playing it and it was really hard and I dropped it almost immediately, but it was okay because I got it used, so it was cheap, and then I traded it back into GameStop.
No!
Yeah.
Geeky Artist and Witty Name say, are there any anime/manga/media that you've watched for a video and wanted to talk about but couldn't find a way to put it in the script?
So among the people who asked for my thoughts on a particular series or asked what I thought about certain shows that I may have shown bits and pieces of footage of, Kobe brought up Girls Last Tour. I really wanted to watch that one, but I just didn't have the time for it. Ash Dream Thief brought up Kino's Journey, which was also one I wanted to watch. I've been aware of Kino's Journey for a really long time, and I just haven't seen it yet. Nathan Anderson mentioned Mushishi, which I also really want to watch. I know that that's like the big one, which was kind of sort of part of why I didn't want to watch it for that, but I also just knew that I would really want to take my time with it. And then Matthew Bowman brought up Natsume Yujinsho, Natsume's Book of Friends. I was considering that one until I saw there were like 6 seasons. And then I was like, all right, I think I need to pass on that one, but I know it's very beloved, so.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Those are the ones from that video in particular. More of the time, like, it's not quite so common that I'll watch something in its entirety and then just not be able to include it in there. Like, I'll make the time no matter what because I don't know how to cut things. But more so, it's from the planning stage. I'm just not able to fit something in there into my schedule for actually experiencing it to then talk about it.
Mm-hmm. I'm so sleepy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for sleepy. TK says, hi folks, I really appreciate the romanticism you approach the subject with and the love shown to under 7. Abe is great. I have 2 short questions this time. 1, have you ever considered doing an episode on the student uprising in Japan in the late 60s? There are a few anime and manga that mention it, but your perspective would be choice. 2, having talked about pastoral vibes and kind tones, I wonder if you have any thoughts on digital landscapes. I mention this because you can see lines and structures that reflect that vastness and ghost in the shell, and also how fanciful and weird digital landscapes can become in things like Summer Wars, Digimon, Bell, the loading screen of various VR MMO stories, etc.
So the student uprising is something that I know about. I know kind of how it has wound up informing Japanese culture and politics and art in the years since. I tend to find that it has more of an immediate relevance to Japanese cinema rather than anime and manga in particular. Mm-hmm. So if I ever find myself orbiting those topics, that'll be the place I'll do it. And then as far as digital landscapes are concerned, I kind of wish that I had gotten into it a little bit more, but I just didn't really have the time to play too many games for the video. But like, there are a lot of video game landscapes that I find uniquely really compelling or pretty or fascinating by virtue of them being very kind of transparently artificial. And I think it would have been fun if I had kind of gone into how that compares to that sort of pastoral, naturalistic topic that I covered, but I just didn't have the time or space for it.
Yeah, that could be its own video,
and maybe it will be. Who knows?
Maybe. Annoyance says, would you consider doing a video, maybe at the end of the year, just collecting all the stuff you feel you missed or didn't know at the time of making the video related to it? Things you wish you said or mentioned briefly as you reflect on them. Realize this could probably get out of hand, but would save a complete revised sort of video.
A complete revisited sort of video.
Revisited sort of video.
I always think about doing that, but those videos always really underperform on channels that do it because it's so much more of a, like, you have to really care about the... Yeah. So, like, you know, there are things that I would love to find an excuse to talk about at the end of the year, but I find that you know, especially now that I'm only doing one video a month, that time is better spent on things that I can make into, like, a full video that have a little bit of a broader appeal. However, I would recommend my podcast, Pod Spirit. because that is where I talk about all of the things that I don't think I'll be able to fit into videos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oscar Franco says, "Hey Hazel, I love your videos. I have 2 questions. 1, have you ever heard of the manga Hoshi no Ponko to Tofuya Reiko? It's basically the trope of young kid meets magical pet, but it's way too existentialist and horrifying.
So I have heard of it. I put it on my list after you mentioned it, and I got confused because I was like, oh, isn't that that thing that Chiaki Konaka wrote that I mentioned in my Elfen Lied video? But that's actually Naruto Shadow Star,
right.
Which is very similar, it seems like. Like, it's kind of funny what a, like, deconstruction of young kid meeting magical pet there is that kind of runs sort of underground, or under the surface, rather.
Mm-hmm. They also ask, what's your favorite Mahou Shoujo anime? Greetings from Mexico.
I really like Ojamajo Doremi from what I've seen, but I always feel like a poser when I say that because I've only seen a few episodes.
Yeah, it's just very immediately likable, though.
Yeah. I really liked the premise for that Doremi movie that came out recently. Did you hear about that?
Mm-mm.
So the premise is that it's about a group of office ladies, I think. I might be getting some details wrong, but it's about a group of office ladies who grew up really loving Doremi, who all like come together and bond over how much they loved it as children.
That's cute.
Which I think is a really cute premise for like an anime movie.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of celebrating the show.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from that, I honestly don't know enough about magical girl anime. I really want to fill out my understanding. The main thing that's kept me is that a lot of those shows are pretty long and not all of them have dubs.
Mm.
Like, I would love to sit down with Miki Momo, Creamy Mommy, and what's the other third one? The big third one.
Pastel Yumi? No.
There's another one that kind of gets lumped in with those.
Yeah.
That I always forget about.
You should watch the new Tokyo Mew Mew with me when it comes out.
I'm
really hoping it'll be good. I'm kind of nervous.
Yeah.
I don't really like that they all got recast so that they could be like a little new idol group. Shrug.
Yeah.
That's the times. Watch more Magical Girls with me. I want to binge Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
Stephen Favell says, "Hi Hazel, I've really gotten into your music in the past year or so. I've never really listened to music with such prominent Vocaloid before. I was hoping you could talk a bit about how you first became interested in using it, your artistic thoughts around Vocaloid, etc. Also, hi Alyssa. Hello."
Listening to Vocaloid at like age 12 fucking blew my mind.
I listened to so much Vocaloid.
Yeah, I just really fell in love with it on all fronts. I liked how different it was. I liked how I liked it conceptually. I liked the characters, and I liked just like how different it all was, you know. And I've just really continued to love it since then.
I still listen to a lot of Vocaloid.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love the tech. I've never really had a good place to record vocals myself, and I am not good at singing. So it was just kind of a perfect storm for me to be able to want to write music with vocals and to not have to have the obligation to then sing on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. I like Vocaloid.
Me too.
Cool. It's cool technology.
Yeah.
Writhing Pit of Kitties Foe wants justice for the cool snake boss character, asks, "Thank you for suggestions of anime to watch. I wanted to ask how you watch them."
Streaming, if it's on a streaming site that I can get access to easily, or I watch stuff illegally. It is what it is.
I don't pay for a single streaming service. All my very generous friends let me moosh off of their various streaming.
Likewise.
Amelia Ray asks, "Do you think that a good sense of camaraderie or community is vital for the ability to really connect with or enjoy an anime set in the countryside?"
Yeah, this is something that I wish I had been a little bit more direct about. But there wasn't really a good show that kind of proved otherwise, so I didn't really have the excuse for it. I really I feel like were there to be a show that has like a very exclusively sort of solitary approach to the countryside, I have to imagine it would probably feel kind of hollow. And I feel like I'm blanking on quite how to articulate it, but like I think why that sense of community does feel so vital to me is because without it, you kind of just have like this sort of like almost like bootstrapsy, like self-sufficient, like living off this piece of land that I own, that I work for, kind of slant to it.
I think in any kind of small or rural community that like camaraderie is sort of an important facet of survival. Yeah. And I think it kind of taps into this longing that humans as a whole have for more interconnected like human connections that sort of died out in the age of technology. Yeah. Not to be like, oh, y'all look at your damn phones instead of making friends with people you don't really have anything in common with. Yeah. Because certainly we make human connections in different ways now, but like, I don't know, for example, when I was a kid, it was pretty common to know all of your neighbors and even be friends with them and borrow things from them or lend them things. I have not spoken to a single neighbor like intentionally in my adult life outside of like waving at each other as we walk past each other.
I do the quick little nod and then I like walk a little faster to get out of their way.
The change there of, you know, being connected to the people around you is something that has been lost, and I think that's part of what makes the countryside settings in fiction appealing, because it kind of harkens back to when people like cared about the people a little bit more around them, and when they cared a little bit more about like taking care of each other. Yeah,
and I think that it's important to stress the fact that they kind of, these two things can coincide. Sure. Like, we don't need to, it's not like, oh, technology irreparably is going to do this to us. Sure. It's that technology that is developed sheerly in ways that orbit around the gross generation of profit is it is the thing that has that problem.
Yeah, it can even make the way we communicate with other people alienating. Unfrog says, since you mentioned, I don't know how to pronounce this, Technolize in your notes, I was wondering if you have seen it and your thoughts on it. Curious to hear your thoughts on the show's brutal depiction of urban society specifically. Have a great day. Suki Stackhouse Lennon also asked for your thoughts on Technolize.
I wanted to watch it for a video that I was working on that I shelved, and then I wanted to watch it for this one, and then I didn't because it was 24 episodes. I do want to watch it eventually, though. It's like one of the few Yasuyuki Ueda, Yoshitoshi Abe, Chiaki Konaka trio productions that I haven't seen yet.
Suki Stackhouse Lennon also said, as far as the Indian stereotyping in Nia, I'm reminded of that cringeworthy swing of episodes in the Stardust Crusaders season of JoJo. Japan has a pretty extensive history of anti-Indian racism. Seth also brought up the subject and said, I'd never heard of Nia 7, and I was almost sold until I saw that character. I'll still almost certainly check it out, but I was thinking, are there any other pieces of media that you think would be regarded better if they weren't weighed down by notable exceptions or characters or plot details?
So the response to the Indian character in Nia Under 7 was really interesting because there were a lot of people who were and weren't Indian kind of pitching it as like, yeah, like it's kind of an exploration of cultural appropriation, and it's kind of like a parody on that. And like, I'm aware of that angle, but in my position, I need to be really careful about how I talk about those things, because it's not, you know, when it comes to like dumb like fan service or whatever in anime, I'm able to say like, well, look, like, you know, I'm coming at this from the perspective of a woman here, but I don't have lived experience as an Indian person. Much less one living in Japan, so it would feel kind of short-sighted for me to brush it off, and I think that a discussion of that show that kind of refuses to touch on that would have felt really hollow. And I made that mistake in an old video I kind of couldn't find a way to talk about a particular show's like racist caricatures that crop up throughout it. And I think that my failure to mention that, because it was kind of an awkward sort of mark against the show,
kind of unintentionally came across as a hand wave.
Yeah, exactly. When in actuality, like, I was too worried with arguing a particular point and didn't want to kind of like look like I was backtracking in its favor.
One thing I did have a thought about, and not that I'm saying Nia 7 did this well or did this poorly, but about the character not actually being Indian, but thinking, well, everyone on Earth thinks I look Indian, so why not embrace that? Like, act as though I am Indian. It kind of reminds me of, and again, this is an American perspective, but like when a lesser known culture such as Filipino immigrates to America and is kind of forced to assimilate in a way that makes more immediate sense to white Americans. So it's like, as an Asian who is not Chinese or Japanese, you're kind of like, you fall into this umbrella of Asian, and then as a result of falling under the umbrella, you kind of like, I wouldn't even say are encouraged to culture vulture, because that sounds more negative than I even mean, but like you are kind of forced to assimilate everything that comes with this idea of being an Asian American. So like, I don't know, like I've known a lot of Asian people of varying descents who kind of like pick apart a lot of stuff from the more, how do I put it, like culturally trendy Asian cultures in America, just because it gives them some kind of identity, and they're like, they've been kind of stripped of their own by immigration and assimilation. So I was thinking about that character, and I was like, it kind of feels like him trying to assimilate into human culture and kind of accidentally maybe overstepping a boundary and like taking too much from a culture that he doesn't really know that much about in the process. And I was kind of interested in that angle of it. I don't know if it's the intention at all, because again, that feels kind of like a uniquely American immigrant experience. Yeah. But it did kind of make me think, like, it's interesting that there are a lot of different angles to look at this character from, but I still do think that unintentionally.
Yeah, like, I need to make it really clear that, like, when I did a lot of research on how people felt about the series. And one of the few things that I saw that directly addressed Chada was someone ascribing it to, I think they described it as Yoshitoshi Abe having a visceral hatred for Indian people. And I was like, that was kind of what caused me to look into it a little bit, because I was like, maybe there's something there that I don't know about. But I think in actuality, that person just felt very hurt by that character's depiction. And that's completely like valid at the end of the day. I think it would be really callous of me to not address it as though it has the capacity to hurt people, if that makes sense. So I decided to tread with caution. Again, like I one of the first comments about it I got was from an Indian dude who was like, I think he said it like, don't like play into like woke politics whatever. When I watched it with my Indian friends, he was our favorite character because the idea of an alien taking those traits was so funny. And it was like, you know, like, again, like I'm comparing this to the Indian person that I saw that was clearly very hurt by this depiction. So,
I mean, to take it from my own perspective, the only Filipino character in anything I can think of off the top of my head is Maria from Zetsubo Sensei, who is an illegal immigrant who's faking a Japanese identity, who never wears shoes in school and is always asking for handouts to send back home to her poor family. And if someone were to say that's a pretty offensive depiction of a Filipino person, I would say you're probably right, but I do like her as a Filipino person.
Yeah, definitely.
I do enjoy her and think that she's a cute and funny character. Does that mean that she does not have the ability to be hurtful to someone else with a different perspective than me? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, she could be offensive to someone else. Like, unfortunately, with that kind of thing, a lot of it is your mileage may vary.
Yeah.
It depends on how that character feels to you and how close or far it hits from home, and whether or not you're able to find humor in that, or whether it feels like picking at something sensitive.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, like, I think that, like, I guess, like, my kind of final say on Chada is that I have seen that character from just about every angle that I think I, as a white person, can. So, like, you know, I've thought about all of the different perspectives that people are coming into it and kind of saying that it what it sounds like the intention may have been. I've definitely done all of that thinking. I just needed to err on the side of caution and kind of assume the most negative reaction to it, but kind of follow the most empathetic path, if that makes sense. Yeah. So that was why I handled
really
it the way I did.
There's really only so much you could possibly say authoritatively about that character without either sounding hand-wavy or like you were overstepping a boundary that you probably shouldn't cross.
Yeah.
Nicolite says, seeing you talk about desolate but beautiful post-apocalyptic environments made me wonder if you have any familiarity with Fragile Dreams, Farewell Ruins of the Moon. And if so, do you have any thoughts on it? As I feel it would fit neatly into this video.
I feel like such a fucking idiot for not talking about it. I fucking love that game. That game is amazing. I played it with a friend of mine back home, and we loved it. We had a great time. That game's got an incredible vibe. I adore every little thing about it. And we never beat it. And I would have loved to do that for this video. And I feel so stupid that I didn't bring it up when I fucking brought up Tokyo Jungle and its plays. I mean, I would have brought up both, but I'm just like, ugh, that would have been such a perfect poll. Especially because I felt like that section could have used something a little bit longer before I got to Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko.
Dumb as fuck.
I'm dumb as fuck.
Maverick says, hey Hazel, I think you mentioned it back in your JRPG video, but have you ended up making the jump to a split keyboard? Has your editing setup changed since that last update?
Only thing that's changed is that I use the split keyboard now instead of the whole mechanical keyboard. I use that one with my desktop computer now. I use a Moonlander. I can't remember the manufacturer's name. Z something Moonlander. It was really expensive, but I knew that it was the only one on the market that I could get my hands on that would have all of the features that I needed, i.e. letting me reprogram the key bindings on the fly and having the different layers. I can't recommend it outright if this isn't, you know, something that you do for a living that you can write off as a business expense. But I love it. It took me a long time to get used to, but it is second nature, and it is not too difficult for me to switch back to my laptop's built-in keyboard if I'm ever sitting somewhere else and I don't have it set up with me. It alleviated a lot of wrist pain. Not completely. I kind of tend to need to shift the position that each half of it is in as I'm going. And it would be really nice if the cables were a little bit more discreet. But on the whole, I'm extremely happy with it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Go to this one?
Oh, sorry.
Wait, read this part.
Yeah, both of these.
Okay.
Yeah.
Both of these together?
No, sorry.
Oh, no, just this.
Yeah.
Okay. Marisa Casfris says, as a fellow woman enjoyer and haver of a partner, I was wondering if there's any anime in particular you'd recommend as a cozy watch with the girl I love.
It depends on so many factors. It depends how into anime your partner is. It depends what kind of stuff you both like. Just because anime is like so your mileage may vary. Yeah. Any given anime is so your mileage may vary. I mean, honestly, I would say Super Cub is probably a good one for sure.
It was very relaxing.
Yeah. I loved watching it with you, darling.
I loved watching it with you, darling.
We watched a lot of the anime for that video together, and it was a lot of fun.
It was a great time.
Yeah.
Go to this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. New Banzo says, sorry this is only tangentially related, but do y'all have recommendations on good food spots in the ID? So we actually haven't eaten at as many places in the ID as I would like. Partly just because Hazel's a vegetarian, and a lot of places we can't guarantee there will be vegetarian options.
Yeah, we've been to a few places that just like didn't really have anything that I could eat, which isn't, I'm not heartbroken about it.
Yeah,
I get why.
I desperately miss good ramen, so I need to stake out the ramen places on my own sometime.
Yeah, I almost said something that is probably doxable, but there's a place kind of nearby us that I want to try that our friend mentioned potentially checking out at one point recently.
Yeah. I've tried a couple.
I think I actually have better food recommendations for U District instead of international.
Oh yeah. Well, really quick, I've tried the the trendy cheese corn dog thing.
Oh yeah, the Korean corn dog place. It's like right by the station.
Yeah, I enjoy those.
Mm-hmm.
They are a lot of cheese, so if you're not a cheese lover, I don't recommend it. And this is just like a bakery, but I like Tour Le Jour.
Yeah, I think it's a chain, but I quite like it.
It's a chain, but it's over there near the Kinokuniya, so I enjoy it a lot.
They have like
fucking ube latte is
they have a really good lavender latte as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I kind of just like Uwajimaya's food court, or not the food court, the
prepackaged
food.
Yeah. I every time we're in there and we're like, all right, let's just get food while we're here to take back, I always get a banh mi from the I think it's called like Saigon Street or something like that in the food court. In the food court, and it's never amazing, but
it's a good time.
Yeah, it's cheaper than a lot of the other food there. I will say,
kind of thought the new taiyaki place is mid.
Yeah.
I tried their
I've never been crazy about taiyaki, so.
I love taiyaki, so I was pretty disappointed. Also, Tour Le Jour, I will say, however, their choco cornet is not as good as the prepackaged choco cornets from Uwajimaya. So if you want to have your own certified Lucky Star moment, have to recommend the prepackaged ones in Uwajimaya. Yeah.
Unfortunately, like Uwajimaya is getting so fucking expensive. Everything there is getting really expensive. Like a friend of ours sent us a picture of that, and like their fucking produce.
So overpriced.
It's like fucking like $6 for like an apple. It's ridiculous.
Oh, what were your recommendations for U District?
Saigon Deli and
is one of my
Korean
fucking
tofu
favorite
house.
Places. It's like so cheap. The owner is so nice. The food is like delectable. Like the best banh mi's I've ever had.
Yeah.
Get it with the egg.
Yeah, get it with the egg.
If she asks you if you want the egg, you get the egg.
Yeah, she was really sweet. I wanted to get there's like a combo that comes with a soup, and I was like, yeah, is there any way I can do like a vegetarian broth for this instead? She brought out this like really delicious like blended pumpkin or maybe squash soup to have on the side, and it was an incredibly hearty eating experience.
Yeah, I'm not made of money, so it's rare that I like tip whatever the highest percentage recommended is, but that place I always tip them high because I'm like, this food is so cheap and you guys are so great. Like, I love you so much. Yeah, the tofu house is good too. Alchemy ice cream is a nice...
Sweet Alchemy, yeah.
Or Sweet Alchemy is a nice chaser.
I really wish that their fucking vegan flavors weren't like cringe-ass Nene Baby Crunch and like fucking like...
I wish it was called that.
I also wish that. But yeah, like for whatever reason, their vegan flavors are really like... Your shitty son will love this.
Peanut butter.
Yeah.
Baby black.
Yeah, literally. But I'm always like, they have like a fucking Earl Grey flavor. That sounds so good. Can I please have that vegan?
What is that burger place we went to that one time?
Oh my god, what was it called?
So good.
It was such a cute, weird little place.
Like we looked at it and we were like, this looks fucking weird. They have like goldfish in the front.
Yeah,
it was great.
And they had like a bunch of weird paintings like the owner's kid had drawn of like Kill Bill and stuff like that, or Kick-Ass or whatever.
Yeah.
I want to say
that place was so good.
It was just kind of like some generic name *S.
Yeah.
Burgers.
It was kind of expensive for burgers, but I had a good time there. You go for the vibe.
Yeah, the vibe was weird, and that was what I liked about it. Yeah.
Oh, I love food.
Me too.
Okay, LEV says, I have to ask if you think these are good examples of what, in manga, Scott McCloud dubbed aspect-to-aspect transitions, cutting between lingering shots of different aspects of a scene with sound effects carrying over into the rest of them, with the intent to setting a scene more powerfully than you can do with one splash panel alone. It's something that, at the time, he considered the trademark of manga as opposed to other forms of sequential art. I'm struck by how much the lingering pastoral shots of the works you showcase seem to be the film equivalent of the same idea.
Absolutely. That's, I really wish that I had remembered that particular point of his. I read a lot of Scott McCloud. Like, I read his whole trilogy, Understanding Comics, whatever the middle one is, and then Making Comics. I read those as a teenager because I wanted to make comics. So I really love his work in that field, and I think that he is really right about that. Yeah.
Twilight Dusk says, how do you feel about farming sim games like the various Harvest Moon / Story of Season games, Stardew Valley, etc.? Apply the tone that you're going for with this video and the point you made about escapism.
I really wanted to continue to play through more of Harvest Moon with you.
Yeah,
and I wanted to include that as an aside in the video, but then we just got busy and life shit happened, and there was just never a good weekend where we felt up to doing that. So originally, my conception of the video was going to be like, and my wife and I have been streaming Harvest Moon, and it's been a lot of fun because, like,
yeah, it was fun though.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed playing with you. Yeah. I am a long time Harvest Moon / Room Factory
That video
fan.
got weirdly popular. I feel like for whatever reason the algorithm picked it up a little bit.
Damn,
our stream bot has 12,000 views or something crazy like that.
You gotta play more of it.
Yeah.
I played a shit ton of Stardew Valley for one heated week. I think I was either sick or on a week break from work or something. I just remember being tired and lying in bed doing nothing but playing Stardew Valley. A week is not as much time as other people have put into it, so there's still a lot of it I haven't seen, but I enjoyed it. I love farming sims. They're great. I wish there were more that I liked, other than the Bokumono series and Stardew Valley, but they do it well, so whatever. Linus Wood says, what is that flowery font you used in the video? It looks really cool.
It is called Lamina, I believe. I got it from Thor, who also used it in his Stranger of Paradise video that came out around the same time. Yeah. We used it very differently, which I thought was funny. But yeah, that font rules.
Also, what is with the kerning on the patron questions text in these videos? The black outlines on the letters of patron are all the same distance from each other, and they're all touching, except a slight space between T and A, but then questions is all kinds of fucked up. Q and U are way closer to each other than U and E, but the outlines aren't touching, but then E, S, T are super close together, and their outlines aren't touching, they're overlapping. I, O, and S are the same respectable distance apart. Was this intentional? Was it the font? It doesn't even look bad, I guess, but when you stare at these videos long enough, you go a little insane. Thanks! P.S. Thanks for retweeting my fan art. I never got that many likes on a drawing before, so it was fun. Hazel got up and used the bathroom. I have never noticed this. I'm not a graphic design person. So, unless the logo or text is blatantly unreadable, I'm just that's fine. I can read it. I have to assume it's the font's fault, because I can't imagine Hazel intentionally fucking up the kerning. But I can't say for sure because she got up and used the bathroom. Also, your fan art was very cute, if I'm thinking of the right one, so you did a good job. I don't know why Hazel left me alone. Hi everyone, how are you? This is my podcast now. I'm gonna get closer to the mic. Hello, it's me, Alyssa. This is my podcast. I'm gonna talk about Sonic some more. I like him. He's my friend. I'm hungry and tired. Oh, he's just coming back. Okay, good.
Linus is right. The font is really fucked up, and I never noticed it until that point. Or maybe I think actually when I had first made that, I noticed. But I didn't really think too much of it because I was like, it just needs to say the thing that it says. The font is Avenir. Avenir Next Condensed Bold. Or Demi Bold. I'm not sure. One of the two. I literally just started using that font because I was like, this looks good. I like it. And I've been using it ever since. It was very slapdash. There are probably better fonts, but it is clean and easy for me to read, so I use it. And yeah, the kerning does look really fucked up.
Beatman says, do you think you have to really have been there to be qualified to make stories about characters struggling financially or hit really low points in their lives?
No, I just think you need to be empathetic and you need to kind of do your research, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it helps to hear personal accounts from people who have experienced it.
Yeah.
Same for anything.
Yeah.
Punchfrog says, when I watch anything with even hints of fan service, I immediately feel vile and get the urge to flee. This sucks, and my partner has even been encouraging me to try and break out of this so I can enjoy the shows I want to watch. I'm not against fan service, and hearing you talk so casually about enjoying it in previous videos made me want to be able to just finally enjoy it. You mentioning Dagashikashi made me think about it all over again, and since I'm here, I might as well ask. I don't have considerate friends to ask, and my partner knows less about anime than I do by a long shot. So my long-winded question is mainly asking advice. Do you have any recommended shows, obscure or otherwise, that could ease someone into fan service in anime? This is coming from someone that got sad while watching Inuyasha because a girl's butt got grabbed without her consent. So I guess part of my problem is the treating women weirdly or worse than men angle.
So this perspective and this question are so interesting to me.
Yeah.
And I am really curious to hear what you have to say about it because I've been rolling it over in my head since I first read it. And I feel like I'm not 100%.
I think the last time we talked at length about fan service, I did say, and I'm going to say this again, like, don't feel bad if fan service makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I would say that is a normal response to it. In fact, I would say that to some extent it's even healthy to be made a little bit uncomfortable by fan service.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily pride myself on being desensitized to it anymore so much as I am just glad that I am because now I can enjoy anime without being uncomfortable quite as often.
Absolutely.
Which is a purely selfish emotion. Like, I don't want to have to think about it as much.
Yeah.
That being said, you know, if you are an anime fan and you want to enjoy more anime, it does kind of feel like this hurdle you have no choice but to just kind of get over, which can be frustrating and uncomfortable. And
I think that a lot of people who don't really enjoy fan service reach a point where it is just nothing to them. Like that it doesn't even register in their brains, you know? Like it's like, oh, it's this again. We just got to get through it and move on.
I will say I definitely feel you on the, like, you know, fan service specifically where a woman gets treated badly is it feels different. It's funny that you brought up Inuyasha specifically because I know Inuyasha is also the one where Rumiko specifically wrote on Kagome's character sheet, like, no matter how rough the action gets, don't show her panties. Like, she specifically did not want Kagome to be used for, like, fan service or, you know, panty shots. But you know, characters still get, like, treated badly sometimes just because of the story or whatever.
The time setting.
Also, Rumiko just kind of has a weird sense of humor. See also her weird pervasive use of, like, the strange perverted old man trope.
I think that, like, my default is to say, like, it's okay to not be able to get into that sort of thing and to have it be a turnoff, but then it is also precluding you from being able to enjoy certain things.
Yeah.
Like, I think about it almost in terms of how easy it is to be like, oh, well, if you want to play this visual novel that has the, like, prerequisite porn scenes, just play it without the R18 patch.
Yeah.
But you can't really say that for anime because it's so built into so many of them.
I'm trying to think. I feel like there's something I've seen before where I was like, oh, this series is equal opportunity with, like, male and female
Metal Gear Solid.
No, I would say even Metal Gear, like, made me mad sometimes. Yeah, Metal Gear is very stupid.
Yeah.
By the time I got to 4, I was just like, fucking Kojima, shut the fuck up challenge. Fucking beauties, eat my ass.
Yeah, that shit is so bad.
Skip this shit.
Yeah. And I say that as somebody who generally
I love Metal Gear Solid. Same. Let me be clear.
And I also love Metal Gear Solid 4.
I love Metal Gear Solid 4.
What does have that equal? Was it something we were watching together? Is it something you were telling me about?
I don't remember.
It wasn't Kami-sama Kiss, was it?
No, but I always recommend Kami-sama Kiss. The shit rolls. Although the manga is interesting in terms of treating women badly, but I won't get into that.
Oh, yeah.
It's not presented as a good thing, but
yeah,
it's a little harder to swallow. I would just say watch the anime. It's a good time. That doesn't answer your question. Oh, I'm just always peddling Kami-sama Kiss. That's hard.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure.
Because I feel like I talked about it very, very briefly in the Tenchi video, this idea of like when you're trying to get somebody into anime, you kind of want to just give them the absolute cream of the crop.
Tenchi Universe might actually be a good starting place. There's definitely fan service in it, but I think the fact that Tenchi isn't a weird pervert...
The fan service is almost entirely self-directed, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's like Ryoko getting naked and being like, wow, check out my titties, Tenchi, aren't they cool? And he's like, I really don't want to see that right now, Ryoko.
Such a good impression of him. I do think that is a really good one.
That
Universe
might be a good
specifically.
Starter. Yeah, Universe is pretty good about like no weird like women being subjected to something. I mean, Tenchi's dad's a weird pervert, but nobody likes him for it. Including Tenchi.
Yeah, I think like the worst it gets is there's like 1 or 2 scenes where they're like, oh, let's poke on into the interdimensional hot spring to see what the girls are up to. And then they get stopped before they can even do it. Yeah.
But that might be.
But I also don't know that would necessarily ease you in so much as like it just kind of being something where that's clear, you know, where like that's fine.
I don't know, because a lot of fan service, let's be real, is just kind of bad.
Yeah.
And you either get used to it or you just desensitize yourself to it enough that you can look the other way until it's so bad that you just can't take it anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, sorry this isn't very enlightening, but I hope you at least feel comforted by the thought that I don't think it's like wrong or bad of you to not be able to enjoy that and that it makes you feel comfortable.
My kind of like approach to it being so like carefree or whatever isn't necessarily aspirational. I've just been around a long time.
Yeah, me too. I mean, you know, I may have mentioned this before, but like in my late teens, early 20s, like fan service made me so like viscerally uncomfortable that it like gave me dysphoria, which I think is totally, you know, common. But just like, ugh, this makes me feel gross about existing as a woman.
Yeah.
Now I'm just used to it and openly gay enough that I'm able to enjoy it to some degree.
Yeah.
But
and again, there are definitely still things where it's like, damn it.
Yeah.
You know? Like, okay, you know what I think it is for me is I think that it is, a lot of it comes down to the tone of the work itself.
Yeah.
Like some of my least favorite examples of fan service come up in the fucking Danganronpa games because so many of those characters are treated as very fully fleshed out, and then it's like, all right, here's the 15 seconds where they get to be your weird little fuck doll that you rotate around in your mind.
Yeah,
you know?
Mikon is definitely the worst example of it. Like the fact that if you like,
I felt pretty genuinely insulted by that.
I mean, if you like read into her character at all, either if you do like the optional side stories with her, it's like she's clearly been extremely abused and taken advantage of, so the fact that the game then gleefully goes on to continue to subject her to that for the viewer is like, ugh, this feels gross. 2 is my favorite game, but I think it's also the worst about fan service in some regards. Uli Choyo says, I loved the video. I think it's so funny that Japan is exporting worldwide nostalgia for settings most of us don't even know. I saw a video by the Anime Man where he visited an abandoned Japanese school, and it's so evocative of the school animes that I got misty-eyed when he sat in the protagonist by the window back desk. Sorry. It's so neat to have fake memories of other people's lives built from a patchwork of disparate works that aim to capture the childhoods of their authors. What do you feel an anime with your particular childhood would aim to capture? What would the wistful threads of your California upbringing look like if you trimmed the fat and removed the bad stuff? What would be the theme of your yesteryears? Where would the coziness come from? I grew up in Mexico, specifically in Cancun, in a time when this massive tourist city was more of a jungle town with a few thousand inhabitants. And I've got
a few dozen thousand
inhabitants. And I've got many anime-worthy memories, but my childhood was so time and place circumstantial, I doubt I'll ever see it captured anywhere, never mind in anime.
You should be the one to capture it.
Dude,
I loved reading that. Yeah.
That was such an interesting question. I feel like you took me on a journey with your words.
Yeah. I think that, like, when I think about the things about my hometown that make me feel really wistful, a lot of it is stuff that I didn't really know how to appreciate at the time. That I'm kind of like, damn it, like, I wish I could have taken this in more.
Yeah.
Like, now that I've seen more of the world, I'm able to kind of recognize what about it was and wasn't a given about living in a town, you know, and about suburban living. I think the number one thing is that, like, I grew up on, like, a pretty tight-knit neighborhood, and I knew all of the kids there. And there was, like, a lot of, like, you know, just, like, woodsy areas near where we lived that were obviously, like, very constructed. But, you know,
I need
like,
to use the bathroom.
Yeah,
so
you're good.
You finish this question. You can handle the next one without me.
Oh, do you not have anything for this one?
Well, not really.
Okay, that's fine.
I grew up in my backyard.
Yeah.
I was a very sheltered child.
Yeah. But yeah, like, kind of like having that sort of, like, interconnectedness in these kind of, like, vaguely woodsy, or, like, wooded, but still extremely, like just, like, parks and stuff, is kind of what stands out the most for me. I also think that, I think that even more so than my childhood, a lot of that stuff kind of comes from my, like, later adolescence. I spent a lot of time, trespassing into my high school after hours when I and a friend of mine were high school students to just, like, go hang out on the roofs there. We didn't even really do anything. We just kind of climbed up on them to see if we could and to see what it looks like up there. And I think that is, in hindsight, that would have been a really fun anecdote to have opened my Sonic Adventure video with. Oh, well. I think that kind of thing is sort of the most, like, capturable vibe, is just going on a roof somewhere and sitting in the middle of the night when it's cold, with, like, you know, fucking convenience store food and just, like, talking about life, man, because we're in our late teens and we know so much and we've got so much ahead of us. So yeah, that's probably the thing that I would want to capture if I were to make something like that. Barring that, you know, a lot of experiences that I had being a musician in a local scene, but that's kind of outside of the scope of the setting itself. No Witch asks, I loved the bit about how Summer Sucks set to Endless Summer malaise. That and Connections and Feelings commentary tracks made me wish I could hear your thoughts on anything related to specific songs you wrote. I know you've said in the past that your lyrics have become more personal since your YouTube channel really took off, so feel free to ignore this. But would you at all be interested in doing some commentary for my other EPs? It's something I've thought about for sure. I think, like, if I were to ever do, like, reissues or something like that, it's something that I would continue doing. because I have a lot of really fond memories of making those records. And there's definitely some weird insight into their production that I don't think I ever really got to share. Like how I wrote and recorded the entirety of Touched or Been Touched By without the use of my index finger on my fretting hand, because I had injured it very severely, and it took months and months to heal and left a scar on my index finger. And I was writing the record through that, so almost all of the guitar parts on there, I specifically had to come up with fretting, just like frettings of them, voicings, chord voicings that I could do without that index finger. Stuff like that. A lot of the older stuff is like, those memories are kind of starting to elude me a little bit, which is why I was so happy to document what I did for Connections and Feelings. And I'm sure the same will go later on in life. Flan, or perhaps Flan, asks, this video and the type of shows always hit different for me as someone from a... Oh, I actually want to save this one for when Alyssa gets back. Let me skip ahead a little bit. Seth Peacock asks, are there any underappreciated feel-good chiptune or 9-bit artists you would recommend? They list a few artists. I'm not really familiar with what 9-bit means, but I really like Yusei, who is an electronic music producer who makes like really, really dense, really upbeat, dancey pop music. Crying is great as far as chiptune stuff is concerned, although not all of their material is strictly chiptune. And then I also like Protodome, who does more sort of like jazz and jazz fusion inspired compositions within the chiptune space. Let's see. Adeline Quinn asks, I started reading Sing Yesterday for me because of your video. Would you be aware of any other similar series that you would recommend personally? Honestly, Nia Under 7 hits a lot of similar notes of feeling sort of like there's a kind of like emotional quality that work has that I think is similar to Sing Yesterday for me, because the protagonist is kind of stuck in that similar space of in-betweenness in life and not really knowing what their direction is. And I think that the show kind of handles that in a similar way. Hello, welcome back. Hello. Just in time for this next question.
Hello, I'm hungry and tired.
I know, me too. We're almost done.
Flan says this video and the type of shows always hit different for me as someone from a small dying town in
West Virginia,
an hour away from Flatwoods and Point Pleasant. So peak cursed Rust Belt. Seeing buildings of old sit there and rot, reclaimed by nature, both fauna and flora, is incredibly common, which makes visiting my hometown very melancholic. As old acquaintances always say how I got out before I could get stuck like that.
Oh, that's so real. I knew so many people who, yeah.
As someone who also lived in these small towns, did you and your friends also make up horrific stories for why buildings were abandoned? I feel like most kids in my school would make up over-the-top gory stories why no one lived there, like a red house across from the playground was painted with the blood the ghost would get if you went inside, lol.
That's so funny. I love that. I wish we did. No, we had, like, a few famous abandoned buildings that hadn't been like renovated or anything, I think in part because of their sort of historical importance. But I don't think that we did much with that imagination wise. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that though. I love that idea.
My town just had actually scary things happen in it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, like someone was murdered and dumped in a dumpster in an empty field, like extremely close to my home.
Yeah.
I didn't need to make up scary, gory stories. Michael Graps says, "Hey Hazel, love your work. I really enjoy how you're able to find meaning in pieces of media while still acknowledging their flaws. That being said, are there any red flags on a piece of media that make you instantly go nope?"
So there's a certain flavor of young girl anime character where I'm like, all right, this is clearly just like cute, marketable mascot girl that people will feel some degree of moe for. But then there are certain kinds of young girl characters whose foreheads are drawn in such a fashion that just is so incredibly perverse.
Yeah, there's a brand of lolly that sets Hazel off. She calls it her forehead theory.
Yeah.
For me, it's... Okay, so I'm about to say some call-outable shit, but no, Hazel looks so scared right now. No, I mean, like, I can like a quote-unquote lolly character design.
Yeah.
I can think that they're cute in a normal,
yeah, I mean, look at
way.
Ren from No Nonbiori as an
I would
example.
almost say that that's a lolly that's too lolly for me.
Really?
I'm trying to think of a good example. Now I'm having trouble thinking of ones I like. But,
Yeah.
you know, I just like cute young character I can enjoy.
Yeah.
I would almost say that the Daughter in Sweetness and Lightning would ring as sus to me if that series wasn't so utterly normal about her.
That's so interesting.
Like, something about, like, her having really long hair, which is, like, not possible for a realistic young child, and her, like, kind of having just, like, moe face in a particular way, made me, like, kind of prickle at first, like,
is that show not, I thought that was, like, aimed at women. I thought that show and that manga were. Maybe it's a seinen.
It might be a seinen, which also always immediately makes me go at cute young characters.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what the intent there is. But no, like that series is like so utterly normal about her that I was like, okay, we're good. But when I first started seeing her, I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Something about her just kind of raised my like too lowly flag.
Definitely.
So I feel you there. It's not necessarily foreheads for me, but there are some characters who just like don't feel like a little girl. They feel like
right.
a lolly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like there's kind of a difference. Like Yotsuba is not a lolly to me. Yotsuba is just a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that like, okay, my predominant example of this is, I've never seen it, but the fucking loli from Bakemonogatari is like the most perverted fucking like she's got the forehead.
Show her to
and
me.
like, you know, the like the kind of like weird like small eyebrows that lolis get sometimes. It's that kind of shit, and that is what feels extremely perverted to me. I'm not there for it.
Show her to me.
But yeah, I think in general, I'm with you. I don't think there are too many like young girl characters that I like really like.
I feel like in general, children. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels like smug loli emoto.
Right. Yeah. See, that's it's the smug emoto-ism that I think also really kind of like yucks me out.
Yeah, like the young girl in Non Non Biori almost strikes me as like the blank-faced loli archetype, like the one in fucking Dragon Maid.
I don't know anything about Dragon Maid.
She's just kind of got like a deadpan like
oh
face,
yeah,
like
see, I didn't even know that.
Mouth.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was the thing. That makes sense why it registered more for you.
Yeah, so
than
at first
for me.
I was like, oh, I hate this character.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, aside from weird lolis, I guess most of my red flags are just like contextual. Like something that would be a red flag and something might be fine, depending on how it's handled.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
fan service.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some fan service, I'm like, whatever, and some I'm like, I can't take this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gabrielle Mobia says, I noticed a lot of fun clips from Flying Witch, which I love for multiple reasons, but I noticed you didn't really talk about it. Is there a reason why, or did it not really twig any specific vibe or raise anything in particular you wanted to talk about? In general, I'm just curious to hear your thoughts about it.
It was the latter. We watched, I think, the first 4 or 5 episodes.
I watched a few episodes.
I kind of just got the feeling that it wasn't going to have anything additional for me. Like everything that I could have said about it, I said about Non Biori and its setting instead.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but I think by the time we got to Flying Witch, we had already watched so many.
Yeah, it was one of the last things we watched for the video.
I kind of feel like I know where this is going, and I kind of truncated it.
I felt the same way.
I enjoyed it. It
was
wasn't
cute.
like not striking me. It was just kind of, we'd watched a lot of anime already. Didn't feel like there was anything to say about it, but it was cute. I liked the furry girl.
Oh yeah, she was really cute. Yeah.
Sarah Elliott says, you bring up your love of music and 70s genre / exploitation films quite a bit. Have you considered making a video on those topics?
Music, absolutely not. I think it's very difficult to package a video about music in a way that people will want to click on.
Geez, also just in terms of YouTube, it's hard to include copyrighted non-video game music in a video.
And then as far as genre and exploitation films go, I really like being able to slip that into videos about anime. I think that that's a lot of fun, but also it is something that I've considered. It's something that I've considered doing specifically in like an anthology format, kind of like the Countryside video or the RPGs video or the OVA video. It's just kind of about finding the right way to package it together.
Makes sense. Brittany Okahara says, I'm sure you're at least aware of Mamoru Hosoda's works. I'm wondering if you have any feelings about how he portrays the countryside in movies like Summer Wars and Wolf Children.
The movies of his that I watched, barring Mirai, which is more recent, I watched as a teenager when I wasn't really quite so honed into works as a whole and was kind of hitting them on like much more of a surface level. So I can't say I have too many opinions on that aspect, other than that I think that he captures summer in a very sort of like quintessential idealized Japanese summer kind of way, that I think is very pretty and very effective, but that also kind of rings to my like, it's not like this that I kind of got into the video.
I really like the house in Mirai. I love the weird tiny house. Kind of cramped into a space in the suburban.
That's probably my favorite thing about that film, aside from the Tatsuro Yamashita song.
Oh, yeah. Madeline Clark says, what are some of your most memorable instances of Yuri baiting, whether it's because it happens to be your favorite or because the baiting itself was especially infuriating?
I can't really remember the last time I felt really like frustrated or offended by Yuri baiting in something, because it's usually really clear right out the gate, like, all right, we're not doing anything with this.
A friend of ours and us had a conversation about this recently, but nothing hits quite like the Yuri baiting that happens in a straight harem anime.
Yeah, seriously.
There's something so homoerotic that happens between women competing for a plain guy.
Yeah.
That, like, I feel like has been thus far untapped into to its full extent. I really want to see a series. First pitch itself as a straight harem, and then pair all the girls off with each other.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that like I think I mentioned it in the video, like all of the stuff in Dagashikashi that I really liked outside of the kind of like more thematic stuff was the Yuri baiting, which was like so brain dead.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I watched the first few episodes of Dagashikashi and tried to watch another one, and I was kind of like, I kind of just want to watch like a YouTube like top 10 moments,
top 10 girls moments.
And Dagashikashi compilations, so that I can just draw fan art of these two without actually watching the whole series.
I'm glad I watched all of it. I really enjoyed season 2. I feel like there are definitely some other ones. I really liked the Yuri baiting in Lucky Star, honestly.
I wish it was a little more, honestly.
Me too, yeah. But like the kind of like very straightforward like jokes about the Yuri dynamic between Konata's Konata's cousin and the tall quiet girl.
I wanted to see
I thought it was
more
really
of them.
funny. Me too. And I wanted, imagine how much more time we could have had with those characters if there weren't any scenes with Konata's fucking dad.
I wanted to see more of the Fujoshi rooting them on.
She's so funny. I love
cute.
her.
I like her.
So then, like that. And then I also just really like all the scenes of Konata tormenting Kagami.
Yeah, those two are cute.
I don't know why Lucky Star comes up so much in these.
I don't know. I can only store, like, my memory of, like, 3 pieces of media at a time. So whatever is, like, most recently loaded into my memory bank is what I'm going to keep bringing up, regardless of how much I actually care about it or not.
Yeah.
I will say I'm not a fan of idol girl Yuri baiting anymore.
Yeah.
I used to enjoy it first, like, oh, it's fun that, like, idol series or games only have girls, so obviously they're all going to be gay with each other. But these days, it kind of annoys me because I'm like, it comes across with the connotation of, like, yeah, these aren't, like, serious relationships, and, like, it makes them more accessible to our male audience.
Yeah.
That they're all just girls. Not
if you were real in their world, they would drop each other for
like, I feel like one of the Bandori or Love Live writer dudes, like, made a comment about how much he hates, like, mentioning any of them even having a brother.
Yeah, like, he retcons a particular character having a brother, and then also retconned that, like, oh, don't worry, he's not reached sexual maturity yet.
Yeah, he can't
really insane.
He can't compete with you, the male viewers' affections for these idol girls. They're pure and untainted by men in their lives. It was just so fucking weird. And I think that was the turning point for me being like, actually, I kind of don't like getting Yuri baited in idol games unless they're explicitly like, this character is a lesbian who kisses women.
You know what I think it is I think that idol games are kind of a more, it's like that, and like, I think that is kind of like the number one, like, ultimate commodification, like almost like soulless commodification of otaku tropes. Whereas in something like Dagashikashi, which is just like made from like a manga that like one person was working on, it feels a lot more kind of like someone who just likes and finds these tropes funny and entertaining and cute. So like,
it feels like idol games and things like that are kind of going down a checklist.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we need our whatever girl.
Yeah.
We need our whatever girl.
Yeah, and it's always like, I know how you want me to feel about this, and you're not gonna fucking have it.
It kind of ends up making me not feel anything. I say this as someone who tried really hard to get into Bandori, and I still like the idiot lesbian.
Yeah. The Kaoru, she's really cute.
She's cute, but then I'm also kind of like, there are better versions of Kaoru.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This is no hate to idol fans. I know that Western idol fans are predominantly lesbians, so you're valid.
You know what it is, actually? If I were to list my least favorite kind of Yuri baiting, it's the Yuri baiting that happens between VTubers.
Oh, God.
Because
just be real life lesbians.
Because every time it happens, I'm like, I don't know that these girls are... Like, it gives me tattoo flashbacks.
I mean, it's just like, yeah, like, big streamer crossover fan service.
Yeah, and it's also like, I don't know that you guys want to be doing this. Yeah. I don't know that you want people to think of you this way.
I don't know. They don't care. They just want more fan art in their tags.
I don't know.
Aubrey Hood says, I just watched YKK for the first time after the video, and there's nothing quite like it. One of the best pieces of atmospheric and environmental storytelling ever. My question, what's your favorite coffee and way to make it? I use a mocha pot to make Cafe Loreno, a Puerto Rican brand I'm obsessed with.
I fucking love coffee. I'm not picky at all. I use a French press because I can set it at my desk. And I will just use kind of whatever coffee. I prefer light roasts. I like this brand. I think it's from around here or Oregon, and they just stock it here. That's called Kuma. I like that brand. But I'm really not picky. Like, I drink all my coffee black for the most part, so like, you know, it's kind of a coffee's coffee sort of thing. It gets the job done.
I like oat milk creamer.
Yeah.
Turkey the Human says, if some sort of wizardly goblin challenged you to a game of riddles, the stakes being, if you win, you only need to sleep 2 hours a night to be in peak physical health, but if you lose, all music you hear for the rest of your life is something off Pacific Daydream. Would you take it? The only caveat is that if you turn down the challenge, you will miscommunicate in no less than 35% of all social interactions to varying levels of severity.
I already do that.
Be warned, the goblin claims to be pretty good at riddles.
I already do that, so unless that means in addition.
On top of, probably.
Oh, God.
That means you're, like, batting, like, 30% correct.
Yeah, that means every single time a waiter says, enjoy your food, I'll say you too.
You'll say it loudly so that everyone in the restaurant hears it.
I also hope you enjoy your food. I don't know if I would do it. What's
Specific Daydream?
It's the worst Weezer album.
Okay.
It's a Weezer album that sounds like, what if Weezer tried to make an album that sounded like the inside of a Hollister, but not the music they play inside of a Hollister?
Well, turning the challenge down doesn't sound worth it to me because I already have enough trouble in social situations.
But I'm also really good at avoiding social interactions to begin with. I don't have that many of them. I would love to only have to get 2 hours of sleep a night.
Okay, so this goblin has not told me...
I'm also really bad at riddles, though.
It has not told me how long I have to solve the riddle. So if I accept the challenge and I say, okay, let me think about it. And then I just, like, think about the riddle until, like, I'm on my deathbed. And then I'm like, a penguin with lipstick on? And he's like, wrong! I only have to hear Pacific Daydream as I'm dying.
Yeah,
which
that's true.
Sucks,
yeah.
But...
I think I like that. I think I agree.
Kill Wolfhead says, what's your white whale from manga that's never been officially localized? Mine was always Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko, but I need to find a new one now.
There are a handful for sure. Let me look at what I have in my Tachiyomi app right now. Do you have any?
I do, but I can't say what it is.
That's okay. I think I know what you're talking about. Honestly, just more stuff that doesn't have scanlations.
Yeah.
More stuff from Kyoko Okazaki. And that's happening. River's Edge is getting brought over here now, which I'm really excited about.
Some of mine are ones that I am going to do a video about with Hazel, ideally.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And those will almost certainly never get localized, ever. So.
No.
That'll be fun.
That's all that comes to mind for me, I think.
Kip says, would you live in a haunted cottage in the Japanese countryside if rent was free? Absolutely not.
I wouldn't do it even if it wasn't haunted. Have you seen the bugs? Have you seen Japan's bugs?
Yeah, after like looking at fucking mukare and like Japanese like killer bees or whatever the fuck they're called, and hearing people talk about how they go deaf from like the sound of cicadas, I'm just like, I like looking at Japanese countryside, but I don't know if I can handle those bugs.
No. I have an ego death when a mosquito eater gets into our house.
Oh,
I'm really bad
too.
about bugs.
I'm so bad with bugs. Yeah, this applies to anywhere. I'm just bad with bugs, so no cottages for me, thanks. I'm not a cottage core person because I just think about how many bugs get into your house. Bluebee says, is there anything you wish you had a dedicated retro-ass web shrine that had a web shrine that unfortunately missed the fan site boom? Side question, only tangentially related, but do you have any fond memories of using game FAQs / text game guides growing up? I had a Pokemon Leaf Green one saved on my 1 gigabyte thumb drive as a kid.
I love these kinds of memories now, but at the time it was always very scandalous to me when I would open up a game FAQ and the FAQ would just say curse words for no reason. I feel like, you can't say that. This game's rated E.
When I was really lucky, sometimes, usually if my mom was playing the game too, we would print out a game FAQ and like put it in a folder.
That is so cute.
Because it was cheaper for us to print it than to buy a guidebook.
That's so cute.
Yeah, so for a while in our like game cabinet, we had like loose leaves of like cheat codes printed from game FAQs or whatever.
I feel like as far as stuff that I wish had a web shrine, it's a lot of stuff that I wish there was more of a localized resource for. I've part of the reason why I've become kind of an even bigger physical media person than I was before when it comes to books is that I can skim through them easier than I can kind of like sifting through the pages of like an ebook to try to find what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I have that feeling because I have a bunch of digital art books, but it's just so much harder to flip through a digital book.
So having like a bunch of information about something in one place would be really helpful.
Dude, I, like, want to make web shrines again.
I know,
for, like, my own characters, but it's, like, so much harder than it used to be in a lot of ways. Sean, my dude, says, I remember you mentioning that you tend to find yourself going into rabbit holes when you do your researching. Has there ever been a time when you said, nah, actually no, to a research rabbit hole for whatever reason?
I came really close to not reading My Bride is an Elementary School Student manga.
Probably would have been better off.
I think that my feelings on it and the way that I discussed it would have felt more hollow if I hadn't, even though all it did was confirm feelings that I had at a baseline. I felt really rancid reading it. So yeah, I almost said, like, I'm not going to read this and I'm just going to proceed forward as though I have for the sake of my own fucking well-being. Yeah. But I didn't, and it made me feel bad in the moment, but it didn't, like, linger too much or anything, so it was better for me to have done that for the sake of that video. As far as, like, other rabbit holes go, there are definitely some things in research where I'm like, what the fuck is this that I've stumbled on? But it tends to happen when I'm either already finished a draft of the script and it would take significant rewrites to fit it in, or it's when I'm in the editing phase. Sometimes I have included them regardless. Like, in the RPG video, my aside about Reveal Fantasia was completely off the dome because I like found it, or I decided to play some of it while I was in the editing phase. So sometimes stuff like that happens.
I always forget. Gyro?
We haven't been, I don't think we've got confirmation yet.
Gyro. Kimono My Gyro says, as a fellow SoCal native, what's your favorite Mexican food and why is it tortas?
I'm not a SoCal native.
Hazel's a NorCal native. Yeah. I'm a SoCal native. And do huevos rancheros count?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's probably my favorite. Hazel makes bomb-ass huevos rancheros.
Yeah. I actually found that the Mexican food that I had access to in SoCal was considerably worse than in NorCal. I'm still not crazy about
in Orange County. I grew up in a much more like Mexican population area, but my parents didn't really eat a lot of Mexican food.
Yeah, there's a place in San Jose called Angelou's that has these like really delicious sauces. I really miss that place.
I'm boring and I love just like a good bean and cheese and rice burrito.
I really love a really simple burrito.
Just like
a wet burrito. Yeah. I home make most of my Mexican food at this point. Just because like it was food that I grew up with. My stepdad was always cooking it. So I don't tend to miss that there aren't too many like really delicious authentic restaurants around here. But yeah, like a good like wet burrito is like numero uno, cannot be beat.
Griffin says, if you were walking through a strange, possibly haunted forest and came across a small person trapped inside of some sort of container begging to be let out, would you risk the possibility of them being some sort of fae / spirit / trickster, kami / etc., but also be kind and let them out? Yeah, and you're getting a lot of like troll under the bridge, like
I like these,
asking you.
Do you have an answer for this? I feel like it wouldn't be my place to interfere with nature's way in this circumstance.
I'm actually in a lot of ways not a very superstitious person.
Yeah, me neither.
So if I heard someone calling for help inside of a container, I'm pretty sure I would just let them out without a second thought.
Yeah, we're thinking that this is like a jar-sized person.
Well, they said in a container. They didn't say that they were that small.
I assumed that this is like in a like a bottle.
I assumed it's just like a box of and the creature inside could be any size.
Oh.
You know?
Now I don't know.
Either way, I would still open it. If something's calling out for help, I'd let it out.
I hate to say it, but I think I would probably just keep walking. I think I would avoid eye contact.
Classic Hazel.
I know, it's horrible.
I would care too much about the idea of like, what if that creature is going to die in there because I ignored it?
Yeah. I mean, that thought would definitely cross my mind if I let it.
You just wouldn't do anything about it.
Well, like, what if it's, I don't know, what if it's in there for a reason? Who knows?
Yeah. People say that about prison.
God damn it, you're right. Fuck.
Angus Van McLeod says, "Hey Hazel, in this video I saw that you referenced Andrei Tarkovsky's The Mirror, my personal favorite filmmaker and one of my favorite films in general. I'm curious what you think about his work, but more importantly, what do you think about broader art house films in general, independent of anime?"
I haven't actually seen any of Tarkovsky's films, which I know is a bitch move on my part. I just know about them. I would like to see some of them. As far as art house in general, I used to be more interested in it, but I think now more than anything, what I used to get out of art house filmmaking, I get out of, like, I don't like the term, but like outsider art, essentially. I tend to find that is what registers the most in my heart as being a kind of pure version of cinema, which I know is really pretentious, but I just really like seeing what people make when they are not merely disregarding the rules, but when they have no concept of them to begin with.
It's kind of like outsider art.
Yeah, that's what yeah.
Oh, did you just say that?
Yeah, I said,
sorry.
No, it's okay.
A little.
I said, I don't like using the term outsider art, but I do prefer outsider art.
Sorry, I'm thinking about food.
It's okay. I'm also thinking about food. We're so close to being done.
Lo says, "Hi Hazel and Alyssa. During the Wild West days on YouTube, I used to discover anime from AMVs and either dig for them on YouTube or the virus/Trojan-soaked video hosting sites. Hell yeah. I discovered Maharaba, Toradora, Haruhi, and Zero no Tsukaima this way. It's weird to find them on Crunchyroll now and realize it wasn't a fever dream, lol. Especially Maharaba, since it seems so small in scope compared to the other shows at the time. Did y'all ever come across AMVs or other similar fan media that piqued your interest in a series?"
As a child and as a young tween, I was extremely embarrassed at the idea of liking music for whatever reason. The idea of liking music specifically was like cringe to me. So for a long time, I would only listen to songs if they were in AMVs.
I love that.
I've heard other people say something similar about only watching
I also did that,
AMVs.
but for opposite reasons of just like, I don't know any music, but I love anime.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to watch AMVs, and AMVs are going to inform my taste in music.
And that was how I found Fooly Cooly, which completely hotwired my brain for good. So that's my number one find.
What would I have discovered from AMVs? I mean, probably a lot of stuff. I feel like I watched Bottle Fairy because I saw it in an AMV or something. Yeah, I watched and made a lot of AMVs. I feel like most of my memories of AMVs, though, are Tokyo Mew Mew AMVs. I was like really big on watching Tokyo Mew Mew AMVs.
Yeah, it was a lot of Naruto for me. A lot of Naruto AMVs.
Ash says, "Hello, Hazel. I'm aiming to do some music genre deep dives and write-ups, and Midwest emo is on the list. What would be, say, 3 bands that to you like but have different essences/vibes and say different things to you? Or any other thoughts you have on the genre if that doesn't track? I don't know. I'm not your boss."
I honestly feel like I don't have a really solid grasp on what does and does not count as Midwest emo and what still does or does not, if that makes sense, like what that's coming up now does or doesn't. But since it is relevant to the video, I will shout out a band that I think is kind of relevant to this video's subject. I want to shout out my friend William's band, Kara's Walk Home. I think that their music kind of carries a lot of the kind of just like a lot of the energy that I was going into this video with, especially the sections about Nia and Dagashikashi. Yeah.
Hana says, "Hi Hazel. I don't know if you've answered this before, but have you considered making a Discord server for your channel?"
I get asked every now and again. It's usually in private, or like in DMs or whatever, so I don't blame you for not seeing it. I have no interest in setting up a Discord server. I'm sorry.
It just seems like a lot of work to maintain.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of work to maintain. I think I would be really awkward in that position. I don't think I would be a good moderator. I come in and out of spaces that don't revolve around me. As is, I think, the pressure of it being a space that is relegated specifically to me and the things that I do would make me feel kind of awkward.
Yeah. Also, just like the idea of having to moderate people who are already fans of you sounds kind of like an uncomfortable position to be put in.
And I don't really like, I try to keep my distance in general. It just feels more comfortable, feels safer for me. And then also, like, if I were to set one up and not be active in there and just have like other people I know moderate, it's like what is even the point, that doesn't feel quite right either.
I feel like just like, hey everybody, get in here and talk about how much you like me, bye.
And that's not to say, like, this is something that I don't hold against people who have Discord servers for what they do. It's just like, I don't think that I would be good at moderating one, and I don't think that it would be fun for me, and I don't think that it would be right for me.
I moderate a server for another YouTuber, and it's hard to do.
Yeah.
It's difficult, but thank you for your interest in it. Isekai Emo-chan says, hello Hazel, if I recall correctly, I believe you used a gaming keypad for video editing, so I was wondering what you ended up macroing on the gaming keypad for your video software, Razor Tool, Zoom, WASD. Also, if the above question isn't relevant, I was wondering if you had any tips for fellow creators on how to avoid burnout when writing. I think we've answered that in our last two FAQs.
As far as avoiding burnout, I'll just say that it really works for me that I make videos because I go a few weeks without having to write anything in between other stuff. Other parts of the pipeline. So by the time I get around to each different step, it feels fresh again for me. It's a very active and kind of perpetual cycle. As far as I use a Razor Tartarus. I have a whole bunch of different keys bound to it. Like text tool, razor tool, normal, pointer. I don't have zoom in or zoom out bound because those are touchpad like keystroke combinations or gestures on my MacBook's touchpad. The one thing that I think is kind of specific about it is that I have a button that's just mapped to clicking so that I don't have to press down on the trackpad and then drag around. Like if I'm scrubbing through a timeline for something, I can just hit the click button and hold it in, and then with my other hand I can scrub through, and it's a lot less taxing on my fingers.
Gert says, hey Hazel, a few delayed questions for you. Firstly, I saw you uploaded the chords to May's theme on your second channel. What are your thoughts on Strive, and who's your favorite character?
So I actually don't really know much of anything about Guilty Gear. I did that because a friend of mine sent me the song before the full thing was out and was like, yo, why is this Paramore? And I was like, yeah, this rules. I was having a conversation with a friend and we were trying to figure out what the chords were. So I just threw it together and then just made it public. Because like when I uploaded that, I wasn't even using my second channel as a repository for stuff from my first channel. It was totally separate. So I'm not really familiar. I would like to be more familiar, but I'm also bad at fighting games. I love the characters and I love the music from what little I've seen of both. I'm just not very educated on it.
Secondly, what are your thoughts on Sonic Riders Zero Gravity? I never hear anyone talk about it, but I think it rips.
I've never played Zero Gravity, but the original is fucking awesome.
Yeah, the first Sonic Riders is really good. I've been wanting to play Zero Gravity.
Yeah.
Leaf Blady says, probably too late to ask, but just in case, I was curious. How do you feel about Sword Art Online being classified as an isekai, or isekai as a genre tag itself? I ask because despite being considered one of the progenitors of the modern isekai, it doesn't really fall in line with a lot of the tropes and trappings you see in isekai as it's known today. Wouldn't say people are wrong to call it an isekai, but to me, it feels like, is this useful for understanding isekai type of genre tag?
Yeah, I think that's a totally fair point. I think that it kind of strikes me from what little I know about isekai as being a kind of like every genre's got to start somewhere, but very rarely would you say that a genre's origin point resembles where it's ended up, you know?
Yeah.
Like when you look at like the sort of progenitors to visual novels, like how different those look from modern visual novels, for example. And I think that isekai is probably quite similar. I honestly can't say that I have much of an opinion on it beyond that, because I have never had much interest in isekai. And I know what I'm about to say. I'll get people saying like, oh, well, there are these works that don't do this thing, or there are these works that might be more to your interest. Just in general, it is a particular combination of a lot of things that I'm not very interested in. Maleoid protagonist, fantasy settings, kind of convoluted fantasy politicking and lore.
I feel like I could be wrong because I only ever saw a little bit of the series, but I feel like in my mind, dot hack is kind of the progenitor of isekai.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
And like things that we associate with isekai, but I could be totally wrong.
And I've seen a little bit of it's not Twilight, it's Sign, I think, is the one that I've seen a bit of.
Yeah.
Can you? I guarantee you can hear my stomach growling on the recording.
I don't think so. I can't hear it.
That's good, because it's like screaming at me right now. Yeah, it's hard. Like when I wrote that section, I really didn't want to come off like I was dismissing isekai, but it is just extremely not for me.
I would even say I like fantasy much more than Hazel tends to, and I've just like never really happened to watch an isekai that caught my eye. Like it's just not a genre I've had any real brush with. But if anyone has any extremely, extremely good ones with cute girls in them to suggest to me, by all means.
Yeah.
Saoirse says, I'm wondering if you have any fun/interesting camping stories. I feel like trips that end up failing often generate those.
So there's the one that I mentioned in the video when we went camping, with your boss. I'm fucking Freudian slipping because I'm so hungry. When we went camping with your boss, and that was a nightmare.
So my boss and I actually made a video about that camping trip that kind of touches on some things that happened that went terribly wrong on the trip. I guess if you're interested, do keep in mind it's a channel kind of mostly for like young teens, but search like Tim Tom camping trip if you want to see me and Hazel in cartoon form.
Yeah.
So another thing about Tim, my boss,
which I need to specify right now.
Please don't comment on that video and say that you came from Hazel's channel.
Well, no, I mean that's that's one thing, but more than anything, like I need to make it clear that my having been involved in Tim's channel has done nothing for me clout-wise. So please don't think that I like got a head start or whatever.
No, nobody. I mean, Tim has been mentioning that I work on his videos since like day one, and his fans do not give a single shit about me.
Yeah, much less someone who did audio editing, which is like an even lesser involvement.
Yeah.
I just need to make that clear.
Yeah. But I was gonna say a thing about Tim, my boss. Is that he tries very hard to be as truthful as he possibly can be in his stories. A lot of people will accuse him in his comments like, oh, you made the story up for a video. But he truly does not make stories up. But he does have to change details sometimes, either to protect privacy or for censorship purposes. So the one thing I will say is I think we briefly mentioned in the video that Hazel got sick and had to vomit because of like bad food, which it's possible that was part of it, but we all also did like bring alcohol to the trip.
I drank too much.
Hazel's super sensitive to alcohol.
I found out not too long after that I'm more or less straight up allergic to alcohol, although it's hit and miss. Like I've drank a few times since and it's been okay. Like there was a podcast episode where I drank and it wasn't really an issue.
Yeah, but then sometimes you drink like a little cup of something and it like makes you pass out from sickness.
Yeah. Like not even like blackout drunk or anything. No. Like I will get sick in the middle of the night, get up, and then faint.
Yeah.
On my way to the little girl's room. It's fucked up. It's really fucked up.
Yeah. So that was the one bit of like censorship we did in that video, is obfuscating the fact that Hazel had drank too much alcohol and then
which it really wasn't
burgers.
Even that much. Yeah.
No, it really wasn't that much. I mean, our standard of too much is like a few drinks.
Yeah.
As opposed to one.
Yeah.
I'm not talking like binge drinking.
No.
But yeah. So I mean. Yeah, we didn't bring the right supplies. We did a shitty job starting our camping fire. It was like kind of dry and yucky that time of year. It was dead fucking cold in the middle of the night. Hazel and I were clinging to each other like chimps in a tundra, trying to like seep whatever inch of body warmth we could get from each other. I distinctly remember lying on that uncomfortable ground in that uncomfortable tent and like trying to like basically dissociate my feet away from myself. Like, my feet are not a part of my body. If they're not attached to me, they don't hurt. They're not cold. I don't even feel them. They're not my feet. Like, trying to like fucking gaslight myself into not being uncomfortable so that I could sleep, and it not working exactly.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
And then you were in your childhood, you were a Girl Scout, so you probably have some stories adjacent to that then. I don't really have too many camping stories. The one thing that I had is one time a friend and I went on a camping trip with my family, and we couldn't sleep at night, so we snuck out and filmed like a fake horror movie. That like nothing ever was done with it. It was just kind of for the fun of it. We were kind of making like a fake found footage thing.
That's cute.
I think we were like 14 or 15.
That's very cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot of Girl Scout camping, but that was like with people who were extremely experienced and knew what they were doing because they like had to, because they were responsible for a bunch of little girls. I did have one camping trip where I got stung on the thigh by a bee, and it hurt so much that I couldn't walk for like 2 days.
Oh, yeah.
So I think I might be allergic to bees. I'm not sure. I just remember...
That would track for you, just kind of cosmically.
Yeah. So I just remember it swelled up really bad, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really like camping.
Yeah, me neither.
I wish that your camp like reinstilled this like feeling of like, oh, I should go camping, but all it did was make me go like, I wish camping was actually this nice.
Yeah. And that's it. That's the Q&A. Thank you so much, everybody. This was so much fun. Bye. I'm so hungry. Bye.
Bye.